Okay, there we go. We should be live now. Hey all, had an internet problem yet again. But we should be going. You may not get any game sound. Let me know if my audio sounds good. Hey Tethys, hey Ray Ray, hey Ozzy. Hello everyone. Well, we get Booba on number 8. I'd say it was planned. To be fair, I thought it was going to be last stream that was when we had Hawk Manor. But hey D, good to see us. But turns out I misjudged how long we had until Hawk Manor. Mic audio is good. Hey, Chrissy, good to see you. We should have game audio in a second here. I think I had it shut. I had all but audio shut off due to recording footage for our server, which we're coming up on having every cutscene in the game filmed. See, we're getting to the best dungeon. Well, my favorite dungeon being the goth I am. Good. Yeah. I like Hawk Manor. I mean, none of the ARR are my favorite. And actually, while we're waiting for people to trickle on in, why don't we go ahead and queue up for a dungeon real quick, so that way we don't have anyone miss. I would do our warrior quest, but we actually have to be level 40 to do the next warrior job quest. So, in the meantime, I think I'll say hi to y'all and get things a little bit set up in here. If we had more dungeons, it'd probably be an instant queue pop. Let's get chat all set up. Okay, that's all turned off. How's everyone's doing? How's everyone's Monday? Yeah, it's Monday, right? Yes, tomorrow's Tuesday. Everybody excited for that 6.15? I know I am very excited. Actually, to be fair, 6.15 is probably going to be the lowest key part of probably the lowest key part of the patch cycle for me, because like I'm not huge into Hildebrand. I do care a lot about the tribal quests, but yeah. Hey Zeph. Of course, everyone comments on the title. The second I try to be playful and people run with it. I will try to keep up on chat as we go, but I just realized that my instincts for not half-assing anytime I'm in a roulette with other players just kicked in. I'm doing well, leveling monk on my ARR, all to reduce grinding later. Good. Yeah, I didn't level a lot of my DPSs until I was in Shadowbringers, but luckily I think I had to level close to like 300, maybe probably more like 400 levels in order to have Omni 80 with like 3 months to go until Endwalker. And then I just said fuck it and like made it my life's goal to make sure that I had everything at 80 by the time Endwalker launched, and luckily I made it. But luckily there's some good tools for that throughout. There's, you know, because you got Baja, you've got you know, you have all your roulettes and stuff, and now PvP's not as much of a pain in the ass, and there's Crystal Conflict, so there's so many more avenues to level quickly. You know, there's Palace of the Dead too. There's Palace of the Dead. There's Heaven on High. The benefit of those is that if you don't want to play lower level versions of the class, you can just play the you get to play the classes actually at those levels, even if you have them at lower levels. Decided to open up a Moogle's Beast Tribe on my alt. Forgot how many quests it took to open them up. Yeah. Luckily, I had all those done by the time I realized that they were prerequisites, because I do the quests along with the MSQ, typically. But it's so worth it. I'm also a really big fan of the Moogle's Tribals quest, because it's not the first, technically the Ixal one is, but it's the first one where you really see an active change in the landscape. I mean, you do in the Vanu, you do in the, you know, the Math, but like, not to the same degree you see it in with the Moogle one. I'm always a big fan of the crafting ones because of how much of a change in landscape they cause. And then, I mean, if you look at all the Shadowbringers tribal quests, they all super duper, they continue to increase the amount that it affects the visual nature of the world. I'm not in love with Beast Tribes, but I like the introduction of more side quest lines. See, I'm a big fan of them. quite a lot, especially not just because of the context and lore they give to the world, but because of how much they end up tying fundamentally in with the relationships to other groups, especially with the fact that they're so, like, 5.55 and the Eorzean Alliance only works as well as it does because you have them to do. Booba Manor indeed. Hello, happy Monday. Hey, Glinton, and hey, Nicola. Sorry, I forgot to say hi. I'm calling it Booba Manor from now on. Well, I'm glad I've given you a good nickname for it. I haven't seen Toto Rock since the rework. This looks pretty good. Hey, Etho, good to see you again. Yeah, it much prettier, and a lot of the rough edges have been shorn off. It with all of the changes from Copper Bell, Toto Rock so far that I've played, because I'm only playing along with this MSQ. There's some I haven't seen yet. The changes are not usually super extensive, but their quality of life is such that it makes going through them on multiple repeats much more pleasurable, and more in line with, you know, later dungeons in contrast. Because the problem was that doing early Realm Reborn and Realm Reborn dungeons broadly, just they weren't pleasurable to do many times. The friction was just too high. Having the earring and brand new ring helps a lot as well. Yeah, that's the thing too, is there's a bunch of methods by which you can drastically increase. Don't forget food. You can also, if you eat food, you get a percentile experience buff. Or if you're part of a grand company, like for instance, or free company, if you'd like to be part of a free company and you're on Crystal Curl, you can join our free company, the Eorzean Archives, which we have a fun time and have been doing a lot of stuff lately and been helping each other out. Or also, if you're not on that server, you feel free to join our Crossworld Link Show that we use to team up. And even just today, we were helping some people get their crystals for their Bajan resistant weapons by doing fates in Heavensward, specifically the Sea of Clouds. Heyo, I'm saying a quick hello. Hope you all have a quick stream. Have a quick stream. I'll have to return to making a deadlines. Yes, I like the playful tiles. It's nice to see the evolution from the early videos. Hey, Brotherhood, good to see you. Yeah, I'm trying it out. We'll see how it goes. There are some difficulties and complications that go along with having more playful names, but hopefully it will work out well in the long run. I love the Vanu Beast Tribe ones. I love the dance. I think it's a good story. As the tribal quest stories go along, they get better and better. Like the Shadowbringers ones are just phenomenal. And like, while I like the Realm Reborn one, they just continue to improve. Almost pretty much straight 1-to-1, every expansion's better than the last when it comes to tribal stories. In my opinion, anyways. The more playful tile stream, thumbnail stuff, nice work and have fun. Yeah, thanks, Brotherhood. Eglinton, I'm almost done getting everything to 80 for the mount. I only started last September and have Ninja, Paladin, Black Mage left. Nice! What's your preferred method for leveling them lately? I know that especially once you get to 70, Baja is or Baja was a great way. I mean, I think it still is, but it's not quite as good as it would have been during 5.x. I mean, the thing is, like, even if you just do daily roulettes, that can take you so freaking far. And PvP, like, I mean, if you like Crystal Conflict at all, or even Frontline, that can take you far as well. But yeah, see, there was no poison on the ground, no slowing poison, and we're already to the might. So it's like they abbreviated it a little bit, and they took out a lot of the pain points. Let's make sure no cutscenes. Nope. I need to move my alt over to curl, but that's for when I get paid again. Oh, well, we'll be excited to have you, Ozzy, so whenever that works out. Hey, AC, good to see you. Just finished mowing the lawn. You doing all that yard work lately. You're gonna poison, aren't you? Doing Tamtara before Hawk? Yeah, I'm just doing a daily roulette because we weren't at a high enough level to do a warrior quest like we usually do as the warm-up while we wait for people to trickle in. So once this is done, we're going to be going straight into MSQ. Hey, Issa, good evening. Yeah, so this is just a little warm-up. And also now we're level 40. This got us to level 40. Which means that tomorrow we'll be able to do the warrior quest. Okay. Eglinton. I didn't really get into Baja, so mostly roulettes and fates. The DPS class and healers were entirely roulettes. I started doing frontlines too recently, which I'm using for Paladin because it's fun. Dude, Paladin in PvP is phenomenal. I mean, I love Paladin in PvE as well, but Paladin in PvP is destroys because you simultaneously have the ability to spike, sustain damage, and sustain self. Just all around good time. Okay, everybody ready? Shall we begin? I'm so used to queuing with my wife as tank that I forgot how long the queue for DPS is. Yep. That's one of the reasons I didn't do a lot of queuing for my DPSs and usually did a lot of things like Heaven on High. Let's get this party started. Would that we were informed to offer, but what Wilbur told you is the extent of our knowledge of the masked stranger. Left unchecked, the men will bring about great pain and suffering. I pray that you'll find and put a swift end to the creature, for the sake of the young ones who died by his poisoned words. And back to square one. I know I have the teleport tickets, but I just like walking. It allows me to make sure that I can catch up on chat. What is everyone's favorite tribal quest? I'm trying to think what my favorite one is. It might be dwarves. It's probably dwarves. That one's so freaking good. And the reward's good, and seeing the change that happens to Lakeland because of it is good. Also, on the 6.15, I think the thing I'm probably most excited for, other than tribal quests, is the Omega. The Mega, not quite an epilogue, but that quest is going to be really interesting to see how that goes down, especially with parts of it probably having taking place in Ultima Thule, and what that means and what that connects into. Pixies, definitely Pixies. Yeah, that quest line's pretty good. And the way it also like gives you some like contextual information also about Pixie souls and Titania and tying it into the MSQ makes it a lot of fun. Or well, if not fun, at least impactful. I've only been able to do the Ronkin mining one, but I plan on doing all of them as I go on my alt. Nice. Yeah, the Ronkin one is awesome, and getting to kind of like not necessarily change history, but contextualize how you choose to view history is, I think, a really clever writing. Ah, Elio, pray do not concern yourself with my welfare. My current investigation has yielded some curious results, and yet at present I'm pondering how best to proceed. I wonder why he's so tired. I wonder if he's up to any extracurricular activities. I love the Namazu ones, their humor. The Namazu one is hysterical, that's for sure. I think dwarves are mine as well. I like the interactions between the different characters. Like the reason I like the dwarves is because the dwarves hits all the high notes of the emotions and all the high notes of the humor, whereas Namazu is like, it's not straight comedy, but it might as well be. Welcome back, Elio. I'm reliably informed the investigation took you to Quarry Mill and Little Alamigo. So tell me, were you able to learn aught of La Habrea? You wouldn't believe the shit I've seen. Planted the knowledge of summoning in impressionable young minds, you say. Precisely the kind of deception the Asians would employ. While many of the ills that ail the land can be attributed to the calamity, some are being brought about by malign will. God, look how much taller I am here. We must needs delve deeper into this, while things remain quiet on the primal front. Well, all work and no play makes Minfilia a dull scion. Did you say something? Nothing, my lady. Mayhap we ought to rest a while before speaking further of the investigation. Skip up. I think dwarves are mine as well. Yep. Cinematography in Namazu was great. Absolutely. I love the historical stuff with the Namazu as well. My favorite one is Mughals for the storyline. Mughal storyline is awesome, especially how it's the interplay of Mughals, dragons, and Hyur. And Elucidate. I can't quite remember at what point in the MSQ did Thancred state his extracurricular activities. I mean, like, he just referenced them back there. When does he start them? I think there's some argument. At this point, it's implied he already has Eglinton. There's no super concrete points that I can recall. There may be a line that we'll find out about or someone that you can point to, but that I remember that it's only implied. While you're tending to business in Hydaelyn, some new information arrived courtesy of our friends the Sylphs. An individual fitting La Habrea's description has been sighted in the North Shroud. The sighting comes in the wake of a series of mysterious deaths in the selfsame area. My instincts tell me that our man is involved. I would have you continue your investigation where you left off. 12's willing, we will pick up La Habrea's trail once more. Norexia can furnish you with the details. Pray speak with her, and take it from there. As always, be careful out there, Elio. I think there's at least one person who obliquely references that it must have been at least before X point, but I don't know for certain that it is directly stated this is when it happens. Brooke Raz, hi, glad to have you. I just found your content a little while ago and it's awesome. More importantly, I want to say it's nice to see a male Eorzean. Need more cute giraffes roaming around Eorzean. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoy it and hope you continue to. Thanks for popping in, and yes, more Eorzean boys. I don't think we're the least played race, but we're one of the least played races. I think we might be tied for number 2. Walking One is to investigate Sinister One? Then heed well this one's words. This one is friends with Walking One in the Ash Crown Consortium. According to Friendly One, a digging one named Medrud had an encounter with a scary masked one. This masked one is most certainly Sinister One. Walking One should go and speak with Digging One Medrud. Digging One is to be found at Fallground Float in the North Shroud. Did anyone say anything new? I'd like to meet the antecedent soon to discuss a matter of great import. But thinks it's about my first official mission. I suppose it would be good if it was, yes? I mean, I'm not sure I'm ready, but still. I think that's the same thing he said last time. Anyone interesting? Oh, Liavian. Yavin. In recent days, I've resumed my training. Idle hands make for idle minds. Painful memories are all too quick to resurface. And she ends up dying in the attack on the Waking Sands. But we're not there yet. North Shroud. Thank you, Ray. Honestly, so far, my favorite people to voice by far are the goblins and sylphs. Sometimes I wonder which is harder to find, a vein of gold or a good man. But I swear, one day I will find the motherlode. Of good men or gold? My fellows and I live one day at a time, using the proceeds of the morning's haul to buy the evening's tankard. It is an unpredictable way of life, but I would not exchange it for aught else. Please, leave me be. I'm not long for this world. I looked death in the face. 'Tis only a matter of time before he comes for me, just like he came for that poor woman. So, don't forget the Cookie Monster Guildmaster. Yes, that was a thing I did. However, was it enjoyable? No. You're right. It's not as bad as it seems. I saw something terrible, that's true, but that hardly means I'm going to suffer the same fate. Thanks to you, I can think straight again. I believe I can even recount what I saw without losing it. It was just another ordinary day. I was headed back to the float when I noticed a suspicious character in the distance. A masked man garbed head to toe in black. He had a hideous fiend in tow, a winged creature that was all eyeball and jagged teeth. Taken by curiosity, I crept as near it as I dared. To see the corpse of a woman. One glimpse was enough to tell me that she died a gruesome death. In that instant, I knew right away that the masked man was a minion of Thal, come to claim her soul from his realm. Yeah, that's crazy. What? You're investigating the same masked man? If that's the case, we'll help you in whatever way we can. Aye, anything to ensure that we won't have to suffer Medred's hysteria ever again. Oh, all right, teamwork. That's what I wanted to. Wait, I haven't been that bad, have I? At any rate, I'm all up for helping this adventurer. It's the least I can do to repay him for comforting me. C-O-Eyes. Hey, Nick, glad to have you. Hey, Morkure, glad to have you. I don't get to watch these live because I'm at work during the streams, but I always catch the VODs later. Your streams are both informative and entertaining. Thanks and keep up the great work. Thank you. That is always super energizing and deeply appreciated. I'm glad that you can enjoy them at all. I'm sorry you can't catch them live if you would like to, but all the same, very, very much appreciated. And hello, Nick. Good to see you. So here's what I know about the deaths. All the victims were found with their faces torn to shreds. Among the local fauna, only the scalekin known as the Ziz could inflict such wounds. That's why some folk are pointing the finger at them. I somehow doubt the answer's that simple, but for the sake of the thoroughness, we should look into it. Why don't you put down, say, 3 of the creatures, and see if you can't find proof of connecting them to the deaths. Dude, he described an eyeball. It's a void scent. It's definitely a void scent. Zizzes aren't giant eyeballs. Pleasure as always. To shreds, you say? A trip to Halloween Manor today? Yes. Although, I guess it's not really Halloween Manor, or at least the music isn't compared to, like, Good King Mogomog, which I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, but that musical theme is just straight up, this is Halloween. Give me your hunting log. Power. How did that pull you from all the way over here? Oh, balloons are done. Cool. Torn to shreds? Spooky. Well, I have some bad news if you think that's spooky, because it's only about to get more ghostly and Elizabeth Bathory from here. Which also, once you know that historical story, literally you know that well, historical mythology, you know that's literally exactly what's the inspiration for Hawk Manor. Fun fact, Hawk Manor was an estate for people of Gridania, but then the Pagel eventually were like, okay, this is such a not good representation of our Gridanian excess that they sold it off. And they sold it off to a private family. And that family bought it. And then shit went downhill fast. Actually, not fast, but relatively quickly. I always wonder how Disney didn't sue them. Yeah, me too, Ray Ray. Although there's also literally part of the Gridanian theme that is just straight up the exact same as part of the Shire theme. So who knows? I mean, to be fair, also Square does have a working relationship with Disney, and that would have been made circa what 2014-ish, 2014, 2015. So they was still very much had a working relationship with them at that point. I mean, still kind of do, not quite as close, but so. True. Yep. Bathory's story is creepy. Yep. Yes, it is. Although you have to wonder how much of it is mythology or the twisting of tales compared to actual historical fact. Even with primary documents, the dispositions and perspective of people in and around her are want to twist it. So apparently there's Lothal who's stolen Ray Ray's name going around delivering cookies to everyone. Are you sure that's not just Ray Ray? Because that also sounds like a Ray Ray move. You've already seen to the Sizz? Good work, adventurer. So were you able to find aught to suggest the creatures are our culprits? Nothing? Truth be told, even if they were proof, I wouldn't know what it looked like. Anyway, I believe we can safely strike Ziz from our list of suspects, which leaves us with the masked man and his winged eyeball. There's something else I heard about the deaths. It appears all the victims have been comely maidens. I'd better watch myself. Eh? Unseemly japes aside, there's rumors been going around. There's some as whisper that after each victim died, her rancor went into the great big rock southwest of here, causing it to flash and moan. This bears investigating. I reckon I'm going to give you a fire sand stick to blow off a piece of that crag. The stick doesn't come with a fuse or anything, so you'll have to throw the thing. Once you've torn the rock a new one, bring back some of the fragments and I'll give them a gander. There's something you should know. I've been keeping this to myself, lest I worsen Medred's paranoia, but I, too, have seen the winged eyeball. I cannot say whether it was coincidence, but my sighting took place precisely the same time as Medred's. I was heading home after a day of digging when the shadow fell over me. Looking up, I found myself locked in gaze with the giant eyeball. I let out a scream and at the top of my lungs and ran without once looking back. This happened at the rocky area west of here, in case you had mind to investigate. So Moogle theme is actually predates Nightmare Before Christmas. But wait, wasn't the original Moogle theme isn't that? Like, I know that there's the Moogle theme, but the Moogle theme is... isn't the version of King Magomoth's theme is not the same version, though, as historical versions? Or does it date all the way back to, like, 3 or something, a version that I haven't heard before? Like, not as good sounding as Final Fantasy XIV, but the rhythm and all that is from, like, 5. Oh, it's from, like, 5. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I don't give away cookies, all for me. Okay, I guess I should have known better than to assume that Ray would be sharing in any capacity around baked goods. Okay, so I believe the Moogle first showed up in FF3. FF2 had beavers instead, but didn't show up in the US until Secret of Mana. Right, because we didn't get 3. We got 4 was 1 in America for a long time. 4, 5, and 6 were 1, 2, and 3. But according to Isa, the Moogle theme from 5 is the same as the King Magomoth theme, which I didn't realize. Well, wait. Nightmare Before Christmas is 93. When is 5? Now I'm actually curious, because, like, what, 80... Okay. 92? Yeah, okay, so it does predate it. It predates it by, like, about a year. No, 1 was 1, 4 was 2, 6 was 3. Oh, it's even worse than that. I never grew up with that weird numbering with that whole issue, so I actually didn't. I never paid very close attention to it. I literally grew up with a copy of 1 being 1, 2 being 2, on and on and on. So 1 was 1, 4 was 2, and 6 was 3. That also explains it. I've always wondered why 3 and 5 were never popular. I understood 2, but like why 3 and 5 were never as popular in the West. Now I get it. It's because they didn't have the releases. We didn't get 5 originally. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of that track now. Man, my monk is only level 22 and it feels so good compared to how it used to. Yeah, monk is I think by far and away the class that feels the best early on and literally even feels basically complete by 60. I wish they could get the rest of the jobs there. We get Mystic Quest instead of 5. Not a fair trade-off, but it was the reality we got. Yeah, the first classic one I ever played was FF4. And then I had on GBA, a friend gave or left at my house and never asked for back a copy of a combo pack of 1 and 2. So that's how I experienced those. 3 I didn't play for many years. 5 I played very young, and a lot of it is obliterated by memory to the point that I should really replay it. It's one of the few that I really don't remember. 6 I've played twice. Never loved as much as everybody else, but I enjoyed 6. 7 I played as a teenager. 8 I played sometime around the same as 7. 9 as well. 10 was the first non-classic one I ever played. I played it like when it would have come out in like 2001, 2002. 12 I played upon release. 13 I played upon release. Yeah, basically starting with 10 I played them all upon release. Most folk are too scared to go with 100 yards of the Rock of Rancor. Aye, it has a name. But what's a few vengeful spirits to a dauntless adventurer like you, eh? Bigger than a shard, but not quite large enough to be a cluster, the energies emitted by this crystal lightly tingle the hand of any who touch it. Huh? Wait, these are just garden variety crystals. 'Tis a bit hard to tell beneath the dirt and grime, but they're definitely lightning aspected. I almost hate to say it, but that explains the flashing and moaning. Nothing to do with masked strangers. Looks like I've gone and wasted both your time and a perfectly good fire sand stick. Oh well. A monstrous banement appeared, and you slew it. That creature had long been a scourge upon the folk of the Fallground. Intentional or no, you've done us a great service. You have my gratitude. But this does make me wonder, was it truly a winged eyeball I saw, or merely a trick of the light combined with blind panic? There's been no promising leads in the murders. I can scarce get a wink of sleep knowing that the killer's still at large. Judging by your furrowed brows, I take it this story's business troubles you as much as it does me. I've been pondering my encounter. I was uncertain for a time, but there can be no doubt. It was a winged eyeball that I witnessed. It's implausible that I could have mistaken so distinct a creature for a banemite. But you and I were moms apart. How could we have both seen it precisely at the same time? What's more, our adventurer friend here had a run-in with the banemite at the very spot you claim to see the fiendish eyeball. Isn't that right? Well, yeah. There must be an explanation. I know. I saw an eyeball with wings. I would wager an apple tart on it. Oh, he's serious. But listen, mayhap it's not as mysterious as we're making it out to be. There's no reason why there couldn't be. Gods, of course. There must be more than one of the buggers. Ugh, if it's so obvious, but then that means, since there's been repeated sightings of these fiends, then there must have been more victims as yet undiscovered. I do believe we're out of our depths. We ought to leave the rest to the experts. Yes, we're just civilians after all. Good luck, adventurer. It was a pleasure meeting you. While I burn to know the truth, some things are best left unknown, lest you have forgotten. It was the rocky area to the west that I had my encounter. Should you discover aught of the note, you will want to alert the authorities. There is a guardhouse nearby. The serpents there should be pleased for any information that pertains to the security of the region. And FF4 as FF2 was seriously nerfed. That's interesting, Power. I had played the Japanese version and the Western version as well as the 3DS remake, and I never noticed a difference. But maybe I just wasn't... Maybe I grinded too much. Maybe I just wasn't paying very close attention. But good to know. Good, interesting. Also, Power, I don't know. Did I say hi? If not, hi, Power. Good to see you. Hey, Chris, good to see you. I'm leveling Lancer right now, level 25. It's a bit boring right now. Yeah. Yeah, all the classes are... None of the classes are fun. No class is fun to level. Most jobs are not fun to even at 50, in my opinion. There's not enough. Only once you start to get OGCDs is any job actually fun. Like White Mage, for instance, until you have lilies, is just not even kind of engaging, in my opinion. I've only played 10, 14, and 15. I should go back and play the classics. Yeah, Ozzy, actually, it'd be fun to have a conversation about if you're only willing to play a couple of them, like which 3 should you play? Assuming mainline, like single players, mainline, not spin-offs, and not MMOs, because 14 and 11 are such strange cases that like comparing them to the others is unfair to everyone on all parts. I always find it crazy that oh, it's a Nymean lily. Oh, that's so fitting. Nymean lilies are flowers offered to the dead in lore, and so like the fact that the item icon for them is Nymean lily makes a lot of sense. The body of this poor soul has been defiled in more ways than one. 10, 14, 15. If I could recommend, so if you're gonna play one classic one, and by classic I mean 1 to 6. I personally have the mind that I favor 4. A lot of people will argue for 3, 5, or 6, depending on their druthers. I was just talking to Synodic Scribe about their favorite. I think, based on our conversation, my impression was their favorite was 3. But I am of the mind I would say 4. But especially if you want to play them to deepen your love of Final Fantasy XIV, 3 is probably the best choice. There's a ton of 4 there's a ton of 4 and there's a ton of 5, and there's quite a bit of 6 in 14, but 3 is so much of 3 inspired aspects of 14 because of the people, the team playing it. Loved 3. People like Ishikawa. Greetings, adventurer. Is there aught I might assist you with? Gods be good. Not again. No matter how many bodies I see, I cannot seem to get used to the horrid sight. Poor women. Also, the way that they hide, like, the facial scarrings by putting a mask on them. Identical deaths have been reported in the Central Shroud. While the masked stranger you seek does not seem to feature in any sightings of the winged eyeball are common enough. The creatures appear to be moving the bodies, but to what end, none can say. The victims have all been young women. All are found with their faces mutilated beyond recognition. It's been difficult to identify them, so as to notify their next of... This button, engraved with a lily motif. The very same object was found upon another victim, a family sigil, or that of an organization, perhaps. Either way, I dare to hope that this find will prove pivotal in solving the murders. The SNES trio are good. Yeah, but the thing is that the SNES trio omits 3, and 3 is, in terms of, like, the team, very, very important. The development team for 14. But yes, I agree, the SNES trio are all 3 very good. I would have you hold on to the Lily button. You'll need to continue your investigation. While it isn't standard procedure to entrust key evidence to individuals, you've proven yourself reliable and resourceful in this matter. I see no reason why you shouldn't carry on your work. If I might make a suggestion, you may wish to take the button to Gridania and have it examined by Mione. Mayhaps someone in her vast network of contacts can shed light upon its sigil. And I will be walking so that I can talk to y'all. So yeah, I'll go to listen to the Critter, Tripper, Fritter, and 5. And 5, sometimes you'll hear that music is just a rearrangement. Starburst doing quests. It's the lyrics that make it seem like MVC. Yeah, no worries. No worries, Issa. White Mage has like no AGCs. It's no fun even at 90. I disagree, Nicole. I have a lot of fun. White Mage has a ton of OGCs at 90. Like literally. Oh, well, I can't show it on this character. There's a lot of things, and especially when you're balancing your lilies. I think White Mage is perfectly fun at 90. It's not as fun to me as like Sage, but I enjoy White Mage way more than I enjoy Ast or Scholar currently. I'm on vacation, so I'm open to recommendations. Ooh, Ozzy! Ooh, let's have that discussion then. I would love to talk about what... So first off, let's talk about what you enjoy. Do you like turn-based, or do you like non-turn-based, or prefer? What kind of narratives do you tend to like? Because obviously I could just, say like, oh, play them all, but that's not interesting. I'd love to like try to like pin down what might be a good choice for you. For just one of them, I would also recommend 4. Yeah, if you can only play 3, 4, 5, or 6, my personal recommendation is 4. There's a lot of arguments to be made for 3, but the thing is if you play the original NES 3, it's very rough in a lot of ways, and so it isn't super enjoyable. And the remake has enough differences that you're not, while all the key things are the same in all the way that matter, it isn't technically the exact same experience and all around. The SNES trios are good. It's actually to deepen my connection to 14 because it's like one of my favorite games ever. I'll look into 4, 6, and any post-6 recommendations. Don't do 7 because 7 doesn't have a ton to do with 14, and frankly, it's aged so poorly that it's really hard to get into in a lot of ways, even if you're tolerant. And Remake has issues in that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a phenomenal game, but because of some creative choices it took, it's not actually a remake of 7. It's technically a reimagining / pseudo sequel to it that expects you to know the entire story of 7 while playing Remake. So it's not like, oh, they remade 7, let's play it. This is now my way to get in. So 7 Remake's kind of... That said, 7 Remake is a phenomenal game. 8 has a lot of really interesting parallels, both with the Blood Moon, with some of its existential themes, and with Gunbreakers. 9 has a ton of references that are small and all around, things like Ozma and Mach, or a lot of the like themes of 9 show back up in 14. 13 doesn't have a lot. I really like 13. 13's a deeply flawed game. 13-2 is an excellent game. But 13 doesn't have a ton, so if you're caring about references, Don't worry about 13. 12. Definitely play 12. 100% play 12. No question play 12, because 12 is set in the same world. It's in Ivalice, which is technically the same universe as Tactics and Tactics Advance. It's really more the same universe as Tactics Advance. Tactics is, yes, in word, technically the same universe as 12, but a lot of way isn't. But a bunch of things to do with Ivalice, Othard, and Ilsabard are all connected into things that you'll get a lot of understanding for if you play 12. And I think 12 is excellent. It's 12 has some weird pacing issues sometimes, but it is a great game. Good to see you, Elio. By your grim expression, I suspect you aren't here for scones and herb tea. Well, isn't this a lovely little button? The engraving is quite exquisite. Artisan level quality, I would say. Where did you say you found this? On a dead body? Lovely. Anyway, I'm afraid I do not recognize the lily sigil. You will have to find the answer the old-fashioned way, by asking around. You could do worse than beginning with Bernadette, over by the Aetheryte Plaza. She has a sharp pair of eyes, that one. I have Pixel Remasters just waiting for my Steam Deck. Nice. I need to get a Steam Deck. I also, if I ever replay any of the early Final Fantasies, and maybe honestly any of them at this point, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stream them, because it's hard for me to justify spending my time doing them in isolation, and I think I would have a lot more fun streaming it and sharing that with others. So if anyone here has an interest in me doing that, I mean, obviously after I finish the MSQ and all that for 14, but I may pick up doing that. Need help tracking down the owner of the button? That's certainly not a request I receive on a regular basis. Well, go on then. Show me what you have. Seems to be some manner of decorative button, reminiscent of those worn by the families of old, though I cannot claim to know its sigil. However, I can say with certainty that the white lily is a reoccurring theme in Gridanian culture. You'll notice on the standard, as well as the Gelmoran standard. Alas, I do not know who would make a personal sigil of it. If there is a soul in Gridania who does, it would be a Sanguled. Sanguled. Over at the Lancers Guild, the woman makes a point of knowing all the citizens on a forename basis. If she's in a Wildwood, technically that should probably be French, but like I have no idea how you pronounce that anyways. 3 is weird up to the final dungeon. It's easy, and then difficulty shoots through the roof with no saves possible. Yeah, 3 is, especially Classic NES version of 3 is a product of its time, the way that 1 and 2 are as well. I like pure turn-based most of all. I'm open-minded for story types. Active time battle doesn't click with me well with me. So, here's what I'll say, and someone may have already said this, but if that's the case, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all good choices. Make sure that if you play them, some of the 4, 5, and 6, I think, at least in their modern incarnations, have ATB, I believe. And if you can change it to weight. You can change it to, I don't know, maybe 5 and 6 don't. I don't know what the remasters have set up for it. But you can make it so that once your bar fills, while you're choosing in menus, it pauses. I know you can do that for 4. And that way you're basically effectively playing a turn-based game. And 7's full ATB, 8 you'd be okay with, 9 you'd probably be okay with, 10 is 10, it's great. 12 is not turn-based, although I think it's a really phenomenal system, but based on what you're saying, it's probably not super up your alley. It's hard to explain, which I'll get to in a second. Bernadette believes that I can help you. Well, that's rather bold assumption to make. I will try to assist you. Never you fear, but whether aught comes of it is another matter. Now then, what do you require of me? Fascinating. Work of this quality is rarely seen in the hands of ordinary Gridanians. The owner of this button is most certainly well-to-do. You may wish to take your search to the Gentry's ward northwest of here. Wait, a memory comes to me. Of late, there has been a man who is perpetually seated at the bench by the ward's entrance. His name is Eorzean, and I distinctly recall him seeking a markedly similar button to the breast on his jacket. I dare say he can tell you a thing or two about it. Let's try to catch up on chat. The name for the Ascians come from 12. Yeah, yes, that is true. There's a ton of things from 12 that are tied into 14. I think 6 is probably the most popular overall. 4 is the one I would recommend. Yeah, we could totally do that. Talk about parallels. Zodiac Age version of 12 goes on sale on Steam pretty often, I think. I haven't played it myself. I played the original and the Zodiac Age. The Zodiac Age is a huge improvement. The original was good, but the thing about the Zodiac Age is they added time 4 mechanic, which means that you can speed up things you can literally speed up the entire game by times 4 or times 2 whenever you want. Which makes, if you want to farm, if you want to do stuff like that, it's a breeze. The Zodiac Age is a blast. It's a much not that the original version was bad, but it's a much improved version. 4 through 9 all use the original AT version of the ATB as a Chrono Trigger. Yes, Chrono Trigger is phenomenal as well. You may want to even consider playing Chrono Trigger, potentially. As for ATB, though, put it on wait. Yep, power got to it. Yep. Hey, Professor, good to see you. Sorry I'm late. Had to go shopping. No worries. Glad to have you. Yeah, Issa, yeah, all the ones after 3 were ATB. Okay, it's been so long since I played 5 and 6. Or not to put a turn-based anyways. Yeah, almost. So the list so far is 3 through 6, 8, 9, and maybe 12. Yes, I will say, based on your criteria, 12 does not fit. Personally, I would deeply recommend 12. And give it some time to get used to its battle system, but it's interesting enough and this narrative's good enough that I would deeply say definitely play it. Don't worry about 13. Don't worry about 11. As much as 11 would matter, just set that aside. Now we have our list, right? So let's order that in terms of some priorities. I'm willing to give 12 the time, but after the rest. Good, yeah, there you go. I made my case in terms of just saying it's worth your time. I do not believe we are acquainted. Pray, leave me to my thoughts. The sigil of Dardencor's family. How is it that you came to be in possession of this button? From the body of a murdered woman? Her face, was it marred in any way? I had feared as much. I can no longer feign ignorance. I shall reveal to you the truth of the deaths, but on one condition. You promise to put an end to my lady's madness and free her from her torment. I was once a manservant to the employ of one of the oldest and proudest families in Gridania, the Dardencours. During that time, I had the honor of waiting upon Lady Amadine, mistress of the household. Fair as summer was she, and possessed of a heart befitting her radiance. Alas, the calamity wrought a great change in her. Though my lady escaped with her life, death may well have been a kinder fate. Never will I forget the day her bandages were removed. She beheld her disfigured face for the first time. At that moment, the kindly woman I knew ceased to be. Unable to bear the thought of being seen, my lady sequestered herself within her chamber and refused all company. This continued for many uneasy moons until one day, without warning, she began to receiving queer guests. None among us knew whence they came, these masked men, but my lady believed that they would help her to regain that which she had lost. So began the rites of rejuvenation. These rituals seemed innocent enough in the beginning, but grew ever more grotesque as time went by. Eventually, there came a day when my lady bound one of her handmaidens to her bed, and proceeded to mutilate the poor girl's face. Suffice it to say, she did not survive the ordeal. It fell to me to dispose of her body. I performed the dreadful task as bade, obedient servant that I was. But when the time came to return to the house, my legs refused to move. I knew then I could not go back to that place, not after the nightmares I had witnessed. So it was that I left Hawk Manor, my home for nigh on half a century. Long did I weep for the girl who was slain, and longer still for the woman that Lady Amadine had been. Yet one cannot weep forever, and I endeavored to put the matter behind me. Indeed, I had resolved never to speak of my experience, until you appeared before me. My lady's madness must be ended, lest more innocent lives be lost. Lay her tormented soul to rest, as you swore to me you would. She awaits you at the Hawk Manor on the western edge of the central shroud. Go now. Go and do what must be done. 12 Fran, what else do you need to know? Yeah, I mean, technically 12 isn't advanced tactics, but 12 is the root of, like, the Viera in 14. 12 is the root of Fran, very specifically in 14. In, for instance, Eorzean's original voice actor in A Realm Reborn was Balthier, one of the main characters from Final Fantasy 12. Also, fun fact, if you never realized it, Fran and Balthier are literally just Han Solo and Chewbacca. Also, Vaughn is basically just Luke. Like, the amount of, not one-to-one, but the amount, like, Ash is kind of just Leia. The amount you can pair up 12 with Star Wars is pretty funny. And it's not like, it's not obscene, but it is pretty close in some funny ways. I just started playing 11 on static members. It's a ton of fun. Yeah, Nicole, I have tried 11. I'm glad you have a ton of fun, and I think a lot of people can have a ton of fun with it. I repeatedly witness people trying it and really frustrated with it. And so that's why I tend to not make it a primary recommendation, more so a tertiary recommendation. That said, it is definitely worth it, and it's definitely engaging with its lore and world is worth it for understanding the ways in which part of Vana'diel inspired 14. And at some point, I'm going to spend time in 11 as well and commit some time to that. Coming for a visit to Curl to join the link shell. Okay, good, Professor. Yeah, if you'd like to join our Crossworld link shell or our FC, feel free to come to Crystal Curl, and we will get you an invite. Everyone's actually talking in the FC chat right now. What's the opinion of the 3D remakes for 3 and 4? I think the remake of 3 is just hands down a major improvement. The remake of 4 is in most ways a major improvement. There are some changes and or the fact that it does the 3D graphics could be if you don't like that style might be a detractor, but I think far and away I would recommend it as the version to play, and I think there are many people who would treat that as heresy, but that is my opinion having played all the versions. I haven't done the Pixel remaster, but there's no difference with the Pixel remasters other than, imagery. Yeah, 12 is the longest of all the single-player Fs, not including DLC additions. The thing about 12 is it really depends on how you play it, because if you do all the side content, yes. However, you can straight shot the shit out of 12 really fast. But yeah, broadly it is very long. Chris, so how do the elementals feel about this lady in her haunted house? Is she powerful enough to keep them at bay, or do they just hate refugees more? They can't do much, because, like, for instance, if you do White Mage quests and or Conjurer's quests and stuff, that the Void Scent being around the Shroud really upsets the elementals, but they're also drastically weakened after the 7th Umbral Calamity. And so they're very upset about it, but they can't do a lot about it. However, they can do things about refugees and things entering it. So it's not one or other. It's more of a one they can't do something about, the other they can do something about in their mind. And because they can manipulate and deal with the Pagel and the Grudonians. Power. Pretty much they kept the stories the same. 3's remake characterization PC, but change. Yeah, 3 actually... No, okay, this is not fair. The original 3 totally has a story. 3 actually has characterizations for the 4 main characters. In the original, it doesn't at all, really. But I will say, if you want, pretty much anything written by Ishikawa probably has a reference to 3 in it. That's how much 3 comes up all the time. Like Crystal Tower, Shadowbringers, Endwalker, just you can assume if Ishikawa wrote it, it's probably got a little bit of 3 somewhere in it. Balthier's the main character. He literally says so. He's the leading man, that's for sure. Nick, would you ever do a lore rundown of mounts? Yeah, absolutely. If there's interest in it, if people have an interest for it, I could literally just make a 15-minute video going down the lore of every single mount or something. The problem is just making sure it's a video that's people will go watch. And also probably it should be in the 15 to 20 minute range because YouTube promotes that way more. But yeah, if people are interested in that idea, I'd totally do it. I had thought about it a while ago, but wasn't sure if there was any want for it. Gonna lurk. Kiddo calls. See ya, Issa. Thanks for hopping in. I'm on online curl if you want to. Okay, yeah, Ray's taking care of the stuff. I spent most of my time on the PS2, so graphics don't matter too much to me. Okay, but graphics don't matter too much to you, then you shouldn't have to worry too much about 8 or 9. The problem with 7 is not just about graphics. The problems with 7 are, there's a lot of problems with trying to play 7 in the modern era. But 8 and 9 would be fine. Yeah, and it's not that the graphics are bad. It's not that I mean the graphics are bad in the 4 and 3 remakes. It's just the style. Some people don't like the 2D style more than the 3D style. Healer! Ah! Okay, well, oh well. Hey, Raiho! Ah, yes, Resident Evil. It's literally, though. Okay, I'll pay more attention to I need to level the healers. They all seem to have a great story. I'm just terrified of healing. Well, Chris, why don't you just put in looking for group or say, again, to everyone. And I see y'all don't do this often enough. You say there's a thing you want to do that would really benefit from people helping you, right? Well, 1, there's a looking for group in our Discord. Please use it. People really love helping out. You make their days... people like feeling useful. 1. 2, you can also make sure to tell me, or Ray, or Issa, And we'll make sure to set stuff up for community nights, right? Like what we did last time, or last community night, where we helped people get the crystals for the resistance weapons. But that said, yeah, healing... See, I find tanking and healing super relaxing, so I know most people are with you, but it's really just to do it. And also, if you're really stressed by it, here's what you can do. Here's a secret. If you're leveling them through roulettes, unequip all your armor down to like ARR levels of item level. Then sign up for the roulette, then put your armor back on. You'll only get ARR roulettes, ARR dungeons or what have you. And that way you will... if you do that, you will not have to worry about stressful healing because the fundamental skills are relatively limited. I grew up with the NES and SNES. I'm born 95, so I grew up with the echoes and remnants of the SNES, but mainly with like N64, PS2, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color too. That's like what my heyday of growing up was in the consoles that I owned. I remember when SNES graphics were considered state-of-the-art. I mean, to be fair, SNES graphics still, much of them look phenomenal still. Like, Chrono Trigger still looks fantastic, like, even if you're just playing an original copy of it. So, you know, whether or not they may, 32-bit maybe not be state-of-the-art anymore, it still holds up. Still holds up real well. Wind Waker is one of my favorite games as well. So, Wind Waker is one of my favorite Zeldas. I adore Wind Waker. I also had a GameCube. I adore cel-shaded art style of that game. I always did, even as a kid. Like, I was weirded out when people were like, oh, it looks blah, blah, blah. But I love the music of that game. The sailing the great seas with the great sea theme is just... Oh, I love Wind Waker. Tanking is so much easier than healing for me, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is everyone's got their own stuff. Like, I find DPSing stressful, but that's also because... If I tank at 95 to 99% like full effort, I feel okay. Like if I go below that, I'm not happy. But if I'm not DPSing at 100% max effort the whole time, I feel unhappy. And so I'm always more like DPSing stresses me out more than anything, which is why the only DPSs that what DPS do I actually tend to play lately? It's really only. I played a little bit of Reaper, but not like in terms of melee DPS, my favorite is Reaper. But in terms, I love Monk too, but I'm like I don't play them that often. It's really mainly Summoner, is the one that it's like I'm gonna play a DPS that I play. If I really just want to press buttons, I'll play Dancer. I think this no, I'm pretty sure that's just an extra. Yeah. Hey, Pedro, good to see you. Glad to have you. I was born in 93, so mood. Cool, Ozzy. Yeah, you get it. Is there an expression for greater levels of rain than cats and dogs? Torrential downpour. It's my personal preference for when I'm going, like, it's like, holy shit levels of rain. I mean, you could make a Final Fantasy joke and make a joke about it being a squall. Speaking of tanking, I recently reached Dark level 80, but I'm thinking of switching to Gunbreaker. Yeah, Raiho, I actually have all of mine maxed out, and I mean, I'm tank main, so not surprised there. Dark is in a weird, is of the 4 tanks right now in a very strange spot, and has been since Endwalker came out. I mained it all of Shadowbringers, and, but it's been in a weird place. Gunbreaker's awesome, and especially with the changes that they've added since Endwalker, a lot of the changes that people have been asking for a long time, Gunbreaker's just a banger of a time. Personally, my favorite right now is Paladin, no question. But Gunbreaker is a really, really good time. It depends on what you like, though, right? Like, what aspect of a tanking do you like affects which tank you're going to be most enjoyable. You know, because, like, one of the things that I loved, one of the reasons I adored Dark Knight was because it had the Blackest Night, which during Shadowbringers, no one else had anything like that. Now, because of Holy Sheltron with Paladin, and some of the other skills that they gave to the other, especially Holy Sheltron Paladin, some of the other skills that the other tanks got, there's that timing mechanic now exists as well for others. So that satisfaction of using the defensive mitigation, not just kind of at the right time, but at the exact right time is all the better. All the sweeter. The thing with DPS is that you don't feel like the rest of whether your party succeeds or fail falls on your shoulders. See, that's why I don't like it, though. That lack of responsibility is stressful to me. That lack of ability to have a meaningful impact on whether or not we fail or succeed really frustrates me and drives me crazy. Like, I don't need to be the person leading everything. Obviously, you can't be. But, like, that's why I play tank or healer. Is like, I need responsibility or else I feel like shit. I tried White Mage first, which helped ease me into healing. Tanking still makes me nervous. Yeah, White Mage is definitely the best place to start first, in my mind. Like, you could argue Scholar because the Fairy will auto-do some stuff, but I think White Mage is so straightforward that there's no question that I think White Mage is the best starter healer, but your mileage may vary. Tanking still makes me nervous. Here, why don't we talk about this too? Like, Eglinton, why does it make you nervous? Because is it an aspect of just fundamentally having responsibility with it tanking, or is it an aspect about tanking that's like doesn't quite make sense or familiar with the job? I'd be curious to know. Which is not the case with healers. TY, that's what we said. That is what we are experimenting here in my home state. Tragedies included. All. I was like that to Eglinton when they introduced the duty support. I picked tanking back up and took me time to relearn it. That's the thing. Take advantage of Heaven on High, duty support, all these lower key things. I guess Heaven on High is not a great example in House of the Dead, but low key things, go play them, get used to the class, and take some time with it. Super take advantage of that. I cannot emphasize that enough. Duty support has helped me feel more confident tanking for sure. Awesome. Good, Eglinton. Hey, Gleaner, good to see you. I finally remembered to change the account name, but better late than never. Formerly Ozzy. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I tend to just have to assume whatever people's names on our YouTube are their names because there's too much going on to keep track of it all. Otherwise. I've been enjoying Warrior lately, and it's a lot of fun being a cute cat girl with a giant axe. Warrior's probably my least favorite tank to play. Oh, right. I didn't grab it. Personally, not because it's not awesome. It's just my least favorite personally, but because Dark has been in such a janky spot, I've actually ended up playing a lot more Warrior than I have Dark Knight in the past like month or so. Hey, Dez, good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm on the laggy side of things, so low responsibility role makes me feel not afraid. Yeah, there you go. In other MMORPGs, I saw dodge as a tank mechanic really interesting, but it was balanced for said job, had the lowest base HP. In other MMORPG, I saw dodge as a tank mechanic. Balance for said job, had the lowest space HP. Yeah, I really adored the dodge mechanic of Guild Wars 2. That was technically not, every job had it, but I adored having that. It's one of the few things I really miss about 14 is having active dodge mechanics. Now, the way I've felt better about that is I'll play Dancer sometimes for their dodge, or the fact that there is timing-based mitigation for the tanks does a lot to trigger that same reward pleasure center of being able to dodge something at the correct time. But yeah, I really hope as we go further and further into 7.0 and 8.0 that active movement mechanics become a thing that many jobs get just universally in different ways. So it can present in different ways. But, already most DPS have an engage and melee DPS have an engage and disengage, right? So, there's already some of that. But the difficulty is you can't give too much, but the bright side is if you give it at later levels, it means you don't have to worry about it retroactively being a problem. So if you make it to only level 100 skills or movement mechanics, that means that only 7.0 content will have to worry about it, rather than having to balance it retroactively. I actually like tanking, but I feel like that I might just be because I'm a metalhead. Hey, whatever works, man. Look, I love tanking, so... I kind of disagree with the having more responsibility. A good strong pair of DPS makes dungeons tolerable. Right, but that's but if you don't have a tank, your DPS can't maintain. Right? It's not a question of just is making DPS make it a lot more pleasurable. It's a question of you cannot succeed without one. You cannot succeed without a healer. Yes, in certain limited circumstances, you can break things in certain ways, yada yada yada. But in terms of unsyncing. My point is DPS, noticing whether or not a DPS is utterly failing is for a lot of people harder than whether or not someone is tanking or healing well. And now you can also say oh, it's super easy if a dungeon's taking too long. Yeah, but that's only if you've done it a bunch of times. If you don't necessarily have a good indication unless you're running DPS checker. So in my mind, it's not that DPS isn't important. It's not that DPS isn't incredibly important. It's not that DPS isn't hard. And DPSing well isn't incredibly hard. It's that the responsibility, and that is a very specific and key term in my mind. I just have circle jerk anxiety. I'm not experienced enough to know what pack sizing can handle, but I'll know when I get the experience. Yeah, I hear you, Nick. Again, for anyone who wants to be practicing a role that they don't usually get to, put in looking for group you want to try something out, or like talk to me and we can like figure out some content that like, oh, I need to do, but also would work out for you. Maybe we want to do Heaven on High or something and make that work. So always take advantage of people in the community. I totally get it, no worries. Awesome. I think it's because I healed in other games WoW specifically, so I have some experience, whereas tanking was pretty toxic in WoW. As a tank main in WoW. So nervousness filter into 14. Yeah, that stuff can linger with you. I totally understand. Lol, I'm DD Feather Moon Curl. Yes, D. That was easy to track. The D and the D made it that one pretty easy. Lala tank is best. So we just pretend that the actual FF1 and 2 don't exist, or what? Because they don't seem to get much love from anyone. That's because 1 has very limited in terms of story, and no, I mean there's a ton of stuff with Garland. I mean, just literally look to Final Fantasy, the game that just came out. Chaos must kill chaos. Chaos. With Garland and stuff. No, 1 gets talked about, and 2 has things in it. Even in 14 has references to 2 and 2. But 2 is very experimental, and so while it's not as beloved, there is no, like, also the beavers in it end up in Shadowbringers. There's references all over. It's just not, the narratives aren't quite as strong, especially in 1 and 2, to be referenceable in the same way. And on top of that, most people our age grew up with, if you're my age, if you're 26, at the earliest, you're probably going to be playing 7 in terms of playing something when it came out. No, I mean, not even. Maybe at the earliest going to be playing 9 as it came, if you're playing something as it came out, right? And so because of that, you end up in a situation where not as many people have played 1 and 2. A lot of people I know haven't played 3. Many people have played 4 because it had multiple re-releases. Some people have played 3 because it had a re-release. 5, a lot of people haven't played because it didn't come out in West. And 6, a lot of people did play because it came out in the West, and, Kefka and a bunch of other things. But also, 4, 5, and 6 really had really strong narratives. Not that 3 didn't have a strong narrative, but it didn't have as much characterization. So, it's an interesting situation, Power. If tank is single polling, they may as well not be there. You can absolutely succeed without them. That's, like, just straight not true for some dungeons. I've seen people try. And I've seen people do things where they don't, they're really, look, I get really annoyed with people single polling too, but I've seen people like tank single polling and they go ahead and start polling people, and I will say, have your own morals and values for that. That is incredibly dickish in my mind to do. Like, while that is true in some cases, sure, that's not true in every case, and that's only true if you have a good healer, it only works if you have a good healer. You can't do that just DPS. You couldn't be a tank and 2 DPS and make that work. So the responsibility there more becomes on the healer than it does on the DPS. The DPS just make it go by quicker. Warhammer 3, Diablo Immortal. What about them? What about them, Pedro? Is this a black mage nerf? I don't know what you're referring to, Pedro. But if doing FF1 def, do one of the remakes of the game. Original release was one of the hardest games in the NES due to how incredibly expensive gear and spells were. And it's not even that necessarily. It's just it's hard. It's just like it also allows you to basically damn near soft lock yourself at the first choice of who you're gonna pick. I mean, it's not really a soft lock. You can get out of that hole. But yeah, absolutely play a remake. Do not play like the most vanilla version. 7 was my first FF. Awesome, John. Also, if I didn't say hi, John. Good to see you. But yeah, it's not so much that, like, there's no one, obviously, who, like, people who grew up in the 80s obviously played, other FF, some of the earlier FFs. And I played the earlier FFs growing up, too, but just in terms of, like, average assumption, I'm really looking forward to the data center visit so I can join the community stream. Super looking forward to that for you and everybody else. It's going to be a freaking blast with 6.18. And I'm really excited, too, for the idea of people who are on different, different physical server shards across the pond, like Ray Ray. Well, Ray Ray has an ult, but to be able to join as well. True, I feel like the only time you start to realize the DPS is lacking is when you slap on a tank healer roll and the single pack pull ends up taking way longer than it probably should. Yeah, no, it sucks. Don't get me wrong, single pull is a fucking nightmare that drives me insane. but I will never start pulling ahead of. I will not like. Will I walk in front of the tank a little bit to be like, come on, or say something like, hey, feel free to double pull? Because usually I'm always going to be playing healer if I'm not playing tank. Sure, but yeah. My first experience with FF was renting a used copy of FF8 from Blockbuster Video. There you go. That's a different world, man. What a different world. 10 was my first FF. I was 6. Yeah, 10 was not my first technically. 4 was technically my first, but 10 was the first one I owned and was my first like real my experience with FF, and so like that's one of the many reasons I love 10. Now, I will say, having gone back to 10 every 5 years since then, every time I played, I'm like, nope, it holds up, and the reasons why I like it are hold up, and these are why, and for this, and this reason. So, it's the Booba. Both the Booba and the iBooba. But yeah, I have a very, very, very deep fondness for 10. The only time I pull for my tank is that if that tank is my wife and I'm the healer. Well, yeah, that's different, and we're called together so I can. Yeah, that's completely different. Yeah, like if it's your friend, or you know them, that's completely different. Mine was 7-2. Then I went back and played 2 though because 2 through 6 because they had PS1 versions. Yes, the PS1 version of 4 was the first version I Oh, did they get rid of the? Oh, they get rid of the things? Oh, interesting. They got rid of the corner things, I guess. The PS1 adaptation of 4 was the first time I ever played 4. And stuff like that is what allowed a lot of people to play the classic ones. You were pointing at a new release game that was about chaos. Those two were in my mind. Also, you pointed out active movements, mechanics, and I imagine this is a Black Mage nerf. Oh! Well, not necessarily, because like Black Mage already has that though. Like you have your active move mechanic is to be able to draw yourself to your ley lines. Black Mages do already have an active move mechanic. I'm not saying I want them to introduce a dodge roll that every class has. I just every class having a way to engage with movements it's more what I mean. So in my mind, that it's not a nerf because you can make it around moving around the ley lines. Or like make it class identity related. Welcome back, Issa. Stranger in Paradise. Thank you, Issa. When a healer tells you to pull everything, it's the best feeling in the world. Yeah, honestly, like anytime I'm playing the healer, I jump in and I'm like, hey all, and then I turn to the tank, I say their name, and I'm like, feel free to double pull at will, or even triple pull. And if they're new, sometimes they'll be a little hesitant, and then they'll be fine. And occasionally they'll just be like, oh yes, and just run with it. The void lamps are gone. That eye mechanic has replaced it. Yeah, and that's actually smart because the void mechanic was fine. The eye mechanics was fine, and yeah, the benefit of that eye mechanic is it's teaching people to do the eye thing way ahead of time and very clearly. So I think this was a smart choice on their part. Brooke, I really like the way they revamped the old dungeons. Hopefully more people will be able to grasp harder mechanics in later content. Yep. I like the fact that there's a tank buster here and it uses the tank buster symbol. I'm really happy with those changes. They make them more pleasurable to do if you need to be doing them on repeat for roulettes and such, and they also did so it's teaching people things early on. Now, I will say, I hope there is some tinkering. I mean, we already saw some with like things like but some like re-tinkering of Heaven's Word to make all of the mechanics in that use universal symbols as well. And on top of that, I really hope they retool Binding Coils so that it's got a universal symbols for Savage, but I also hope that they someday introduce a normal version. I know particularly why introducing that it's complicated. It's not super straightforward, but it really should be mandatory. Not mandatory, but it really should be an accessible part of the MSQ. Yes, I haven't done the old dungeons, but they have them in the new MSQ roulette too, and I was so happy. Yeah, Nicole, me too. There's such a huge improvement. Darkness has taken root within these walls, sprung from the most unlikely of seeds. One cannot help but admire the irrepressible spirit that quickened it to life. It is a pleasure to meet you at last, adventurer.
You are every bit as intriguing as our master gave us to believe. It is no ordinary mortal who can acquire one crystal of light, much less 3. The crystals make you strong, and it is to that strength that the light is drawn. Hydaelyn chooses well. A pity that your existence is reconcilable with our own. We cannot well allow you to continue upon your present course. Alas, we came here not to play, but to take the measure of your strength for Master Lahabrea. That task now accomplished, we take our leave of you. Fare you well, bringer of light.
What a bunch of weirdos. Someone just sent me a whisper that says the Amalja send their regards. I'm assuming that may be one of you guys. In which case, let me check chat real quick. Just rule number 1 of tanking, don't outrun your healer. Yes, unless you're very aware of exactly how to use your mitigation and what you can get away with. And even then, you shouldn't be outrunning your healer. You should just be a pace or 2 ahead of them enough that you know you're good. When you're a good enough healer, then it becomes worthwhile. Seeing the tank buster, giving my tank the Eorzean shield, and the damage being under 500 is what I live for. Me too. That is why I adore Sage so much. Oh, it's the same feeling I get from using the Blackest Night as the Dark Knight. It's so good. Normal coils would be awesome. I tried soloing, got stuck on Nail. You can clear Nail solo. It's a pain in the ass, and you need to be playing tank. Also, if any of you haven't finished Binding Coils, we did it a couple nights ago, or 2 weeks ago. However, if you need help, make sure to put that in looking for group on the Discord. A bit late, but while I liked Dark Knight Lifesteal, I grew to dislike the later DPS skills, plus I do not like the invincibility skill. Well, I will say, I don't know, Raiho, have you played it recently? Because they fixed the invincibility skill. They changed it, and now it's actually, Living Dead actually works really well. But yeah, there's a lot of, Dark Knight is in a weird place, like I was saying earlier. I still think the thing involving the Ascian felt rushed. I will accept it because it is an ARR. Thing involving the Ascians felt. What do you mean the things involving the Ascians? I don't know what you mean. Pedro, because if you mean like in Endwalker, I mean that's set up in Shadowbringers and Stormblood, like that's set up as far as 1.0 and like built on. Who is sending? Well, okay. I still think this thing involves, yes, it was the world's worst tank until I had that one healer see me in all my horrible gear and told me to full pile anyways. Turns out it was more of a confidence issue than anything. Yep, that can happen. Whatever happened to these Ascians, I wonder. The Black Masks, they all basically, either there are some around, but they're basically left. Basically, they're people who got raised by the Convocation, but who are basically high on their own shit and very much lesser pawns. And most of them were defeated or disbanded, and there may be a few around, but they're basically completely powerless to do anything at this point. I barely remember ARR. Well, that's why we're replaying it. The Amalja send their regards. Oh, okay, Professor, that's you. I was very, very confused. Are you in the FC? If not, let's invite you to the Crossworld Link Shell. Oh, okay, you're already... No, you're not from the homeworld. Okay, cool. Well, back to the MSQ. Yeah, but me too, Chris. Honestly, like I sped through AR the first time I played it, and I played it for the first time 4 years ago, I think, at this point. And so, like, for me, a lot of it was a blur. A lot of it I remember or like have done research on, so I know it bits and pieces. But I haven't, like, one of the reasons I needed to do these streams was to really get anything that I missed in the MSQ firmly concreted into my mind. If I, because I never want to miss anything when making a video or give wrong information. I didn't get the Speed Demon title. Go slow. Yeah, I feel you, though. The Succubus dungeon you just fought. I still think involving the Ascians. Well, but the Black Masks are established in all of the starting cities as well as throughout ARR. Like, that stuff is explained. Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere. I think they mean them just showing up in dungeons. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, but that's, like, because that's the major plot beats for them to be doing that. I mean, they do engage with us at different points outside of dungeons and in multiple job stories, like Summoner. They're in a bunch of different. They're in side quests. The Black Masks are all over. That last one was you, Isa. Thanks, Isa. Why are Ascians involved in the succubus dungeon in the middle of nowhere? Because they were responsible for bringing the Void Scent into the source. That was them. That's why they're succubus. They were the ones who made the deal with Amadine, and taught her the rights of how to summon Void Scent. Like it's very like there is a bunch of like that's why they're there. They're testing us, but they also they were causing chaos intentionally by summoning Void Scent. And also, part of their plan is also to raise the light. Now that they've had a calamity of darkness, they're to create light ascendance, so they need to see how strong the Warrior of Light is. Do we get much information about the 12 staff Ascians? We do get bits and pieces of the Black Ascians. The specificity of their identity is a little up in the air, but they're effectively they're just people who were risen by the Convocation and higher on their own ship. Yeah, lots of unnamed Ascians in ARR. Yeah, I mean, they're intentional minions and extensions of La Habrea, especially La Habrea specifically, but the Convocation as a whole. The Blast Masks are all over, including the on Gaius's belt. Good point. Good point. But that's not for a long time.
You are returned. What sights awaited you within the manor? What has become of Lady Amadine? You must tell me all. So, she went so far as to consort with devils. Would that I could have done more to prevent her fall. May she finally find peace in the beyond. I know not whether the masked man you encountered are the same pair that they first led my lady astray, but it is plain that they are the same vile brood. Should the chance ever present itself, promise me that you will visit upon them tenfold the woe that they have brought upon others. But who am I to speak of punishment? By my silence I allowed I know not how many innocent young women to die in unspeakable circumstances. It is a matter not wherefore thou misplaced loyalty, cowardice, or both. I am a abettor to gross crimes. I will surrender myself to the authorities and accept whatever punishment they deem just. I only pray that the gods will have a mercy on my soul.
Multiple parts of the Gridanian themes are just straight up from the frickin' Shire theme. They're all named Gary. You know what? Fine. Why not? Wouldn't the Alexander Horn guy be a Black Mass asking? No, we don't know exactly who he was. But there's a good chance that he was probably either La Habrea or one of the other. Actually, no. Oh, no, there is information on who it was specifically. I can't call it to mind, though. But no, he was probably a Red Masked. He was probably one of the Convocation. But he definitely was an Ascian. Gonna go ahead and bounce. Wife is gonna be home. We're probably gonna continue our replay. I'll catch VOD for the rest later. Awesome, Gleaner. Glad to have you. Hope you have a good time. Chris, so there aren't members of the Convocation? No, they are not. But they are still reborn ancients, have several shards of an ancient soul. Probably. What we're meant to understand is probably that they are people with sundered souls elevated by the Convocation. That is the broadly implied understanding of them. Or at the very least, some awareness of the world unsundered. At least they're not named Bob. Good afternoon. Hey, Dragonstar, good to see you. Glad to have you. New adventure. Joining the stream late, getting close to the manor on the replay. Sadly, we just did the manor. You just missed it. We just finished Hawk Manor. Did anyone here get my reference? No. No, I can't say I did, Issa. I'm old Greg? Literally not what you said, but... Welcome back, Elio. Full glad am I to see you safely returned. Tell me, how fared you on your sojourn to the Twelveswood? Two of La Habrea's minions, and they sought to measure your strength by their own admission? The devils taunt us. It is beyond doubt, then, the Ascians have begun to move in earnest. Would that we knew to what end. Yet I will not bemoan our plight. Thanks to your tireless efforts, we are at least aware of the encroaching darkness. Alas, we can only do so much. It is clear to me now that we Scions are too few to protect the realm against this threat unaided. We must needs alert the three nations to the presence of this elusive enemy,
and recommend that they heighten their vigil. There is no shortage of misery in the world that the Ascians might exploit. We have an arduous struggle ahead of us. Yet, come what may, we must not allow ourselves to become lost to hope, for that is precisely what the enemy desires. We have gleaned all we can from the information available to us. Let us set this investigation aside for the present. Another matter has arisen that requires your attention. Let me know when you are ready to be briefed, and I will summon the others. Fallout Gary. They're all named Steve because La Habre can only mind control people named Steve. Let's open up that weapons coffer. I actually think I'm probably over-leveled for it at this point, so probably won't be an upgrade. At least there's some upgrade.
The Maelstrom requests our assistance.
Concerning the kobolds they sent such copious notes on, I presume?
Yes. And no. It has more to do with their findings, which portend a peril far greater than any beast tribe.
What sort of peril?
The worst kind. A tribe of kobolds in the vicinity of Limsa Lominsa has reawakened Titan.
Hey Tillier, good to see you. Glad to have you.
Our task will be to slay the Primal. The Maelstrom have sworn support for the endeavor. They are no strangers to the havoc kobolds can wreak.
Who's ready for booze?
Years before the Grand Company's reformation, two primals, Leviathan and Titan, chanced to converge upon the sea wall, wreaking untold devastation. There, by the grace of the Navigator, were the mercenaries Merlvip hired able to fend them off. Yet it did not take long for the beast tribes to regroup, and they summoned their primals once more.
Thankfully, their second coming was decidedly short-lived, but that is beside the point. So long as tormented souls will them to exist, the realm will never be rid of primals.
The Maelstrom has kept a watchful eye upon the beast tribes, and the kobolds in particular, ever since. Which brings us to the matter at hand.
Unlike Ifrit, we know scarcely anything of Titan. Unfortunately, the only force known to have bested him, the modestly named Company of Heroes, disbanded 5 years since, and mercenaries are not in the habit of keeping chronicles.
Expect the worst.
You can make fun of the company heroes, but they got some members that are good.
Even if we had their whole armada at our disposal, we could still find ourselves overmatched. A pity the kobolds lack the gentle sensibilities of the sylphs. A peaceful resolution would be more than welcome. The echo will not avail you this time, I fear. If you are to survive, your steel must needs speak for you. No one would think you a coward were you to decline.
So you will accept? Thank you.
We can't very well send him to Limsa Lominsa without Y'shtola, can we, Minfilia?
May I ask that of you, Y'shtola?
I never thought it in question.
Ever reliable. Very well. We will spare no effort to win victory. You may count on the full support of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. And all not afield will aid the fight from afar. Thancred, Ida, go to the Grand Companies. Tell them of our plight and solicit their support. Eorzean, Send word to the students of Baldessian and Alfino if you would. Papalimo, compile all the information we have on Titan, little though it may be. You will be apprised of the tactical situation when you reach the sailor's ward. Provision yourself for the journey. May you walk in the light of the crystal.
I really love that when we hear "May you walk," the "May you walk" comment from Hydaelyn and Endwalker, we hear "May you walk in the light" rather than "May you walk in the light of the crystal," because the end of the crystal has come. Anyways, let's get to let's catch up on some of that chat. So one, I love the Company of Heroes. The Company of Heroes are super important historically, super important to 1.0, super important to what comes next, and super important to like Endwalker with the role quests and stuff. So I will say, and on multiple points, people like Brayflox are super important. They're like, so it is worth remembering that I don't remember the structure very well of this part. Like I remember it being a pain, but I don't remember. But the lore is actually very, very valuable. It's worth remembering. So maybe we make fun of the Company of Heroes. You may, but know that there are quite a few of them that are bam-fast motherfuckers. Hey, it's Ray Ray! Are BAMFs. Like, it's worth remembering that. You got, Brayflox, Lorenz. They've seen some shit and done some shit, and they're some of the only people to, like, actually take on primals.
Hi, good to see you, Private Forgeron. Simon sent word to business then. It was, as we was told the antecedent, the kobolds have once again summoned Titan. A little over a moon ago, we began to observe the beastmen moving south and increase in numbers from Ogomoro. Our scouts subsequently confirmed the object of their aggression. Crystals fought us for the fell primal. I need to figure out Merlin. Aye. Thank you, High Commander. You may leave the rest to me. Your deeds bring glory to the Maelstrom. Private Forgeron, right? Right proud am I to call you one of our own. Forgive the lack of forewarning, High Commander. The Admiral wished to address Elio personally. We are no strangers to conflict. Long have the Sahagin and the kobolds plagued our people, nor is it the first time we've had to address the primal threat. In the past, when Titan rose to threaten the peace, it was to the Company of Heroes we turned. But they are long disbanded, and we must look to other brave souls blessed with the strength to face this foe. So it is that we turn to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, confident in the belief that you are our Limsa's best hope. I hope you are right, so yet the situation is far from simple. The kobolds are not prone to unprovoked aggression. Did not the Thalacracy make a pact with the beastmen that each would keep their own lands, and that no blood would be shed? And was it not the Laminsons who violated this agreement, dissatisfied with their lot? Shall we then condemn the beastmen for defending their homes? Even a pirate must one day reap what she has sown. I would advise you to choose your words with greater care, Lady Y'shtola. Stand down, High Commander. She has the right of it. And the wrong is mine. Freely do I claim it. Yet as it makes a little difference, remorse will not shield us from Titan's wrath. Or would you have us fall upon our swords? My apologies, Admiral. The safety and security of Limsa Lominsa's citizenry are, of course, of paramount concern. This is important. Remember this for 2.x. Already we have observed the disruption in the flow of the ethereal further inland. Aether funnel further inland. The effects will be felt here in the city ere long. I ask much of you. No, I know, but the need is great. I trust I can count on you, Private. You have my thanks, along with the full support of the Maelstrom. I await good tidings. That the kobolds should summon Titan demonstrates that they are no longer amenable to negotiations. This being the case, we must needs prepare for conflict. Before we meet Titan in the field, however, it would be wise to learn all we can of our foe, and I can think of no better source of information than the mercenaries who defeated him once before. Aye, the Company of Heroes may be no more, but the several of their former members still live. It is said that one of them is employed at the Grey Fleet Mills in the Lower Lanosia. Quite. Why a mercenary should choose to become a miller, I do not know. When you find him, mayhap you could ask him for me. I meanwhile shall seek his fellows.
Oh, good. A chance to talk to you guys. I always hated this part. I low-key enjoyed the Company of Heroes part. I hated the stretch after retrieving the airship. Yeah, I don't have fond memories of that either. But I also haven't done a lot of this since the abbreviation since 5.3, so I don't know how much anything has improved or has or hasn't improved. Am I missing a bit? Was doing the stuff and just noticed this? I mean a little, but not really. Maybe someone has informed you since. But can we make fun of the poster who pretends he was part of the Company of Heroes but is actually just a bum? Yes. Yes, you can. Bacchus. Curious Gorge was even part of the Company of Heroes at one point. Wish we knew more about that. Curious Gorge is such a good name. I love him. Well, we'll see him next episode. John Sleeper. We have sown in blood. We have reaped in suffering, and it cannot go on. Yep, exactly, John. Like, that's the thing, is that I get frustrated when people are like, oh, X character did a bad and they're forever condemned. It's like, no, X character did a bad, but the whole point of like the narratives and 14 are often about trying to claw back a better world and be better than what you were before. And like that is true onto Limsa and onto Merwood as well. Gods, I'm watching you and Chris at the same time, and his voices are hilarious. Well, I'm sorry I'm not funny. I'm sorry I'm not funny, Issa. I'm sorry that I take things seriously and like a matter of gravitas. And that's why I talk like this with the goblins. Same here. I thought it was just a fun Koji Fox translation, but then I found out he was also called Curious Gorge in Japanese. Yep. I hate this man. As war is my favorite tank, and Marauder was the class I started with in A Realm Reborn, I have a special place in my heart for Curious Gorge. Though I started as a Marauder and technically got Paladin before Warrior, or started as a Gladiator. Marauder and Warrior is what I played as most of my time through ARR, and then switched to Dark Knight when I got to Heaven's Word. So I actually share some of that Dragonstar. You should definitely talk like that with the goblins. Oh, I do. Whenever we have the goblins, I do this talk. Uplander. We also, what did we do? Oh, we did the room. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. But yeah, no, when we Brooke, you haven't been here for the prior episodes, but no, when we do goblins, that is the voice I use. I also have an episode on goblins for our channel that is a goblin talking about the lore of goblins, which you should definitely go check out. One, because of self-promotion, and two, because I actually think it's pretty funny. Or at least it's enjoyable if you find that voice funny. Lay down your burden, son, come drain a pint with me. We'll have a grand old time and find your lasso 3. You gonna say something, Venturer, or just keep staring? Eh? You wanna know about the Company of Heroes? Aye. Ugh, hells. Price of bleeding fame. Can't a miller's mill in peace no more? Still, seeing as you've come all the way, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to oblige ye. Consider yourself lucky, mate. Old Tractum was the company's best axeman. Now what was it you wanted to know? So you want to hear the tale of how the Company of Heroes bested a primal, do you? Let me guess, you mean the bastard Titus, eh? Oh, if only you'd been there to see it. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! 'Twas a mighty struggle, like the legend of old. Me and the boys fought him for 3 days and nights, we did. The ground trembled with every step Titus took, and when he hit ya boy, it felt like a cannonball to the gut. Ugh, just like that. Oi, what's the look for? I'm a goddamn hero, I'll have you know. The people around here are singing me praises. Don't tell me you only care about learning the secret of tactics we used to beat old Titus. Well, too bad. Fun side note, the method by which people fought primals before there were people around with the Echo to fight them, and or basically the solutions that we have in the modern time, they literally just got hundreds of people and just threw them at the primal, knowing that the first wave was most likely to be tempered, and they just kept sending people in until they like wore the primal down. That was literally was just throw people at the problem. Well, too bad, because now I'm not feeling charitable. If you're so damn desperate, then why don't you do me a favor and kill those rats they've made a nest by the windmill just south of here? Aye, do that, then we'll talk. Ooh, sing Rise with Goblin voice. I'll do that in a second. Give me a second. But do you think we'll get a full job quest again in 7.0, or will they stick with class quests? I think we get a full job quest. I think we get wholesale new ones. At the very least, we definitely get them for whatever the new jobs are. I wouldn't be surprised if we... I personally think it's likely that we would get new job quests that are just going to be a whole new storyline. Because now we've had a expansion break. Like, the problem was we needed an expansion break, and now there's enough new characters and enough new things going on that it makes sense to have new job quests. I'm crying, OMG. And Goblin. Sonic Boom! What voice do you do with that one Goblin in Ilshire that learned how to speak common Eorzean tongue? Ooh, I don't know yet, AC, but that's going to be really fun. I forget his name. Is it for the minor quest or the smithing quest? I know the one in Ilshire you're talking about. But I'm going to figure out a voice for that. That'll be really fun, AC. Yeah, this guy, John. Yeah, not a great guy. Goblin is shunning math rocks. Shunning math rocks go click back. Make good numbers. Bad math rocks go to math rock jail and show bad numbers. That outfit, I think the hat makes. That darn Titus, exactly. Smack my head at this NPC. Yep. The man, the myth, the legend, Tractome. That's actually horrifying primal lore. Yeah. No, I mean, you have to understand. Literally, the only solution for being tempered for generations, for thousands of years, has been mercy killing. Like, everything about the primals has been terrifying. Like, that's why so much of 5.x is not just important for, like, oh, what we've been through. Oh, that's super cool. But, like, holy shit. Thousands of years of tragedy can now be upended. The Company of Heroes is the most celebrated mercenary band in the history of Eorzea. Even so, I must admit, I've never before met one of their members face to face. I imagine that warriors who had toppled both Titan and Leviathan would seek to bask in a lifetime of fame and glory. Yet, he seems to have settled in a place distinctly bereft of adoring crowds. Eh? So the beasts are dead? Are they? Nice work, Venture. Save me the hassle of... never mind. What? You still asking about how we beat Titus? I don't know, Venture. It was a pretty risky strategy that kinda only a veteran of 10 score battles could rely upon. I wouldn't to teach ye. I truly do. But unless ye prove ye would have it, ye have what it takes to face the fat bastard, I can't in good conscience tell ye a damn thing. At the very least, you need to be capable of slaying, say, a Gubu. Come to think of it, that ain't the bad idea. Them creatures have a taste for flour milled here, so you ought to have no trouble finding one in the vicinity. Of course, I ain't tasking you cutting one down quick as a skilled axeman like myself. Any road, why don't ye try heading due west and start standing looking out, cause the Gubu comes calling. Slay it, and I might consider telling ye more about old Titus. That's straight up carnage, holy crap. Yeah, no, like, it's easy to forget. There's a lot of dark shit that happens in 14's universe that you aren't always super aware of. Query, when it comes to the Alexander raids, are you going to make the leader of the Illuminati talk like that, or can you change it up to make him sound like a Darth Vader goblin? I think I'm going to figure out how to add a vocal layer for OBS or something for him. Professor. Especially because it seems like people... Holy shit, that's a big Gubu! Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus. But yeah, I'm going to figure out how to do that for other reasons as well. Until you're, bow down, bow down. Oh, actually, no, I was thinking you're going to do the Overdweller, bow down before the power of Santa. Bow down, Overdweller, bow down, Overdweller, bow down, Overdweller, Titus! Throw people at the problem. Sounds like my boss who keeps hiring more consultants. So I appreciate that. Like, you don't always talk a ton, but every time you do like stuff like this is solid gold. You again? Then the Gubu that was harassing the Millers is dead. Oh, Issa, that's really cool. Thanks for letting me know that. That makes me feel good. I hope his playthrough is going well. You again? Then the Gubu that was harassing the Miller is dead. Didn't think you had it in ye, adventure. Still, you look forever and a day to get the job done. I'm still not sure if I should tell you our secrets. You should. Maybe for the minor, yeah, maybe British accent with goblin undertones. That's exactly what I was thinking, AC. The common speaking goblin should be super posh British. Yep, that was my head, what I had to go into, so we're on the same page. So, I was saying, I still don't know if you got what it takes to face Titus. Maybe if you slew, look at the tattoo. Tracked him. You here drinking again. If you are, the Goobu had better be dead. Oh, it's dead, Chief. You had me word on that. Cleaved the bastard's skull in two with me trusty axe, I did. And is that a fact? And what will your friend here say if I ask him? He'll vouch for me. Of course. Ain't that right, friend? Tell me true. Was it Tractum who slew the Goobu, or was it you? Chief, what are you saying? It was me, Tractum, the finest axeman ever to serve in the company of heroes, the legendary mercenary who slew the bastard Titus. Titus? Titus? Who in the seven hells is Titus? Some primal you fought in their drink-sodden dreams? The company of heroes slew Titan, you bloody halfwit. Well, see, Titus was me and the lads used to call him. That's the biggest load of sahuggin shit I've ever heard. Both of you outside will learn the truth of that the Lominson way. Tractum, if you didn't slay the Goobu, you may consider your contract revoked. He's got it's not pants. It's, sumo. It has a term. I forget what it has a term of what it's called. Wow, I didn't know that. I always wondered how primals were dealt with before. Yeah, Eglinton. Alright, you know the rules. First man to smash his boulder will be judged the Goobu Slayer. And don't even think of trying to kill me. That's cheating. Don't even think of trying to kill me. That's cheating. Who picked these boulders? They're nothing alike. Ah, the hell's with it. Let the contest begin. The cure for tempering was what enabled the peace with the beast tribes. Yeah, a major part of it, yes. Not exclusively, though. A major part of it is if you do the tribal quest, you realize that the seeds for that are being sown ahead of time. Is it fundamentally required for the mass adoption of peace with many of them? Sure. But the seeds for that are sown throughout onto all the events of 5.x. But you don't get 5.4 without that cure, for instance, obviously. Did you hear about the kobold who decided to sunbathe? He got a Titan. See you guys. Did I win? I was doing that blindfolded, so. The cure for tempering before the cure is the same for the cure for lots of ailments, death, good dose. Well, that's not so, I mean, it's a cure. It's a stopgap, maybe not necessarily a cure. Alright, I'll admit it. I lied about being in the company of heroes, but I'm begging you, Chief. Save your blubber and Tractum. Oh, God's known I should have. Mercy, please, I didn't want to deceive you. I swear, it's just that I keep getting turned away by all the folk I asked for work, and I panicked. See, the last job I had was at Costa del Sol, and there was this grizzled marauder everyone treated like royalty. When I heard he was a captain in the company of heroes, I finally understood why. I wasn't being serious when I said I was one of them, but you wanted to believe me, Look, his name was Whiskat, alright? Whiskat. He'll tell you how to defeat Titus or whatever the hell's the thing's name is. And that's why you wanted it. Well, that's what you wanted, ain't it? So come on then. Tell me, Chief. Tell the Chief to forgive me. It's only fair. True Costa del Sol. Actually, why don't we just go ahead and run there so I can catch up with chat quick. Oh, actually, yeah, okay. I agree. I see our indubitably uplanders. Oh, indubitably. Oh, indubitably uplander. No, I gotta just do it without the accent. Oh, indubitably uplander. I also gotta make a button I can press for the sound effect for goblin or the goblin breathing. Has anyone ever read the minion description for Leviathan? It involves Tractum and his tall tails. I haven't recently, Atelier. I think I remember that, but I don't remember the specifics of it. Why don't we, here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the... Let's go to Garland Tools instead. What it says, your flesh cannot feed this minion of the deep. Are you sure it's Leviathan and not Titan? Or is there even a Titan minion? I don't even think there is. Maybe it's... Placing this wind-up Titan on an elevated surface may compel it to knock around everything else. Oh, well, that's wind-up. Sorry, not the Titan. No, because it's wind-up Leviathan. Weird. You'll have to link it. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that there was a reference to him in one of those. Unless they changed it. Is Tractum not wearing pants? Yeah, we the Curse of the Subligar. Yeah. Track loves reverse chaps. By law, 80% of Rogan males must wear Subligar. Don't most people in the game call it Subligar? Yeah. It's not a term that I thought to commit to memory because I didn't think I would be using it on the reg. It actually feels like the first overtures of peace with the beast tribes were started with the Aroma Reborn Black Mage Quest. Not really, because they were all kicked out from their tribes. Those are all outliers from their groups. The start comes with the tribal quests for Aroma Reborn, because those three aren't really representatives of their tribes in any meaningful way. And while the tribal groups you meet, like, for instance, the Saugans of our outlier groups, there are large outlier groups that are an actual clan, rather than, like, specific individuals who are, like, super ostracized.
Pardon? You wish to slay the Lord of Crags? We must slay him, Captain. The people of Limsa are depending upon us. You fancy yourself heroes, then, just like in the tales? Be not so quick to judge. Long I have labored for the well-being of you and yours, and my associate here has bathed in Ifrit's hellfire and lived. He is blessed with a power that protects him from the primal influence. Thus was he able to lay low the Lord of the Inferno. We know full well the risks and have taken every possible precaution. We lack only the knowledge of how to enter Titan's lair. Pray, be so good as to grant us the boon of your wisdom, and we shall be on our way. A man who can't be tempered. Useful, but it will not be enough. It is true that the company of heroes fought and felled primals, but each victory was brought with the lifeblood of brave men and women. And Titan was the worst we faced. Aye, we defeated him in the end, but he took from us some of our very best. Even if you possess the power you claim, I have no reason to believe you will succeed. Believe what you will, we mean to try. Though our lives be forfeit, we will not abandon Limsa to the wrath of the Titan. You are passionate, I'll grant you that. If you deserve better than the greeting I gave you, but I will not send you to Ogomoro on a whim. To be plain, I do not wish to see you give your lives in vain. At the very least, I must have assurances that you are more than a common adventurer. I oversee security for Master Gegeruju's estate. Perhaps you can demonstrate your abilities by attending to one of our... Ye gods, man! Have you heard nothing I have said? We have not the time to perform trivial tasks. The enemy is at the gates! Do you imagine words can sway me, girl? If you dislike my conditions, then you are welcome to find your own way into Ogomoro. Though it pains me to admit it, I fear we have no choice, but to acquiesce to the man's demands. Yet much remains to be done if we are to best Titan. Forgive me, but I must ask you undertake this task alone. I will use the time to see to the remaining preparations. Leaving the dirty work to others, are we? Very well. Pray, do whatever the good captain bids, however trifling. Remember, the fate of Limsa hangs in the balance. Is there a Titus minion? Titan minion? Yes, but it doesn't reference. Following the release of their wind-up Titan, the Weavers Guild once again approached Tractum. Was that in the minion? I literally just had the minion's description up and it wasn't... Weird. I don't know what's going on. Literally the entry I here. Why don't I just pull up my minions? Because I have the minion. Oh, I don't have the minion on this character. Never mind. I don't have anything on this character.
I love the Alliance Beast Tribe quests. Yeah, they're pretty good. What if having the Echo also gives you the ability to see AoE markers despite others being kind of aware of them? Some people have argued that, Raiho. Like, some people have speculated that, especially with what we see with the Resonant and stuff. I think that's a fun theory, or a fun hypothesis as to whether or not there's any validity in it is... sucks that we didn't have one for the Shadowbringers Beast Tribe quests. Yeah, but also, we didn't really need one because of the way a lot of the role quest stuff also ties into it and elsewise. I post the description and the links in the shell chat. Awesome, thank you. Following the release of their Wind-Up Titan, the Weavers Guild once again approached Tractum for a task, to which he eagerly rose, providing the guild with a crude sketch of a certain body part he insists is identical in length and girth to the Leviathan. Oh, a Titus minion from Titus? No, not as of yet. Hopefully one day. Hopefully one day we get a Brotherhood skin as well. Master Gege Ruju requests can be more demanding than you realize. Before I set you to your true task, I would like to verify that you won't be a waste of my time. A Nyx has recently been seen prowling in the beach to the east. As you can imagine, my master does not want large slimy creatures anywhere near his lands. The beast is cunning, but you should have no difficulty luring it out with airing. Slay the Nyx and return to me. Oh, and don't forget to bring me a leg as proof of the kill. Thank you for posting that, Professor. I appreciate it. In Stormblood, pretty sure that Tataru is aware of the marker. Not sure if it was just an arrow or just the red arrow. Yeah, but my point being that you could rationalize that, like, what they're aware of is looking at the body mechanic and that they don't actually see the AoE marker and that we are actually, our characters are actually visually seeing an AoE marker. Like, I'm not saying I super support it. I'm just pointing out that, like, there is a way to rationalize and justify it as a possibility. I'm waiting for Sin from X to become a boss, maybe in a raid. So I've been pitching that for forever. I mean, I've been pitching a lot of 10 stuff forever. I think that if we're going to see that, the likelihood is you would see it for Mare City or New World. You know, that said, if we ever go to other reflections could be so different that you could make a reflection that not is, but was like Spira or something. And the relationship with summoning, for instance, could be more akin to, you know, the Summoners of 10. I would super be down for that. The fact that we've had Bismarck, and I know Bismarck is their own reference, and so it's, but Bismarck is Sin-like enough that I worry we might not. But I would really, really appreciate if we did get a Sin fight. I mean, fuck, man, I just want more Final Fantasy X stuff. I do appreciate what we get with Anima and the idea of dreams in Endwalker, and like there are touches here and there. But they also said that there's going to be a major new Gold Saucer game coming around. They said that before Endwalker launched. And look, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that, like, you know, Blitzball. I know some people desperately don't want it, but I'll tell you who desperately does. Well, what did you deal with the Nyx? Lest you think me overly cautious for testing you in this way, you should know that we had an incident not long ago. A foolish young employee was dismissed for lying about his past. He claimed to have served in the company of heroes, but I knew for a fact he did not. Anyway, now that the pointless busy work is finished, I shall give you a challenge as befits your talents. Two highly distinguished individuals are scheduled to visit Costa del Sol in the near future, and Master Gege Ruju wishes to welcome them with an elaborate banquet. But while money is no object, not everything Master Gege Ruju desires can be so easily purchased. It is to be extremely exotic feast, and so, Elio, your mission is to seek out and obtain the rare ingredients of our chief requires. Naturally, such fine dining has been accompanied with a suitable wine, and by suitable, I mean the very best there is. That, however, can wait for the time being, as I believe you have enough on your plate as is. It will be a long and arduous journey, but you need not toil alone. Many of the mercenaries who once served under my command still live, and they will guide you in your quest. For the first ingredient, I would have you travel to the South Shroud and speak with Landale at Camp Tranquil. What? Do you mean to tell me that you cannot afford to waste your time as your associate did? Adventurer, if you've not the endurance to complete this mission, how do you expect me to believe you can outlast the Lord of the Crags? Either do it or don't. I have work to do. Yeah, there's a lot of busy work. Oh, good. Time. At least we have Quarry Mill. Why is Tractum so lazy for even the simplest of tasks a kid could do? To be fair, I mean, the things that he did were not necessarily just out of lazy. He's just kind of like weak and incapable. And the reason he cheats is because he's desperate. And especially people are looking for work. Work is really rare during the 7th Umbral era. So I would say that he's more desperate than lazy in a lot of ways. Not that he isn't lazy, but desperate and willing to stoop low. But yeah, Chris, man, do I want a Sin fight to go to an earlier point? That's the weird. There's minions for Yuna, Riku, and Lulu. Yeah, but also like people love Yuna, Riku, and Lulu, and like notice that like part of that's because it's all the ladies that people. I mean, fuck, I'm surprised they didn't put a pain one in there. Sadly, a lot of the fan base, both male and female, go wild for people like those. Man, give me Auron. Auron is one of the best Final Fantasy characters. Period. I'm not saying he is the best. That you can't say anything is the best because what the strengths of each are different. But man, is Auron fucking phenomenal as a character, just both within the narrative and as an individual. If they wanted to, they could heal Sin into a Void Scent boss for future dungeons or trial. Just one idea. Yeah, that's a really good pitch, especially with the way in which Void Scent embody things, almost parasitically, like you, Yevon. AC, that's a really good pitch. Yeah, Bismarck trial fight was very similar to the airship Sin fight. Yeah, exactly. If the 10th shard is still around, I don't see why not. I have a note on this because we were just talking about this. Let me pull up my note real quick. Because I had gone and done it, but I didn't note it down. But because of Shadowbringers, you can see which shards are and are not still around. Let me pull it up quick. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay, so thanks to Tethys, we have the first calamity was the 5th shard, the second calamity was the 12th shard, the third calamity was the 2nd shard, the 4th calamity was the 3rd shard, the 5th calamity was the 6th shard, 5th calamity was the 6th shard, 6th calamity was the 10th shard. So sadly, 10th shard's gone. 7th calamity was the 7th shard. So it looks like the 10th shard is no longer around, but that doesn't really stop them. That doesn't really prevent them from doing that if they want to. I love Blitzball on 10. IDKY was relaxing to me. Walk of Legendary Weapons was one of the 3 I got. I hate Blitzball on 10, which I know sounds crazy seeing as I want Blitzball on 14. I hate it in 10 because I don't want games like that, a side activity, to be required to do something like the Legendary Weapon for a single player game. So for the pacing of 10, I hate it. For 14, it would be perfect. That's the exact sort of thing I do want in the Golden Saucer and an MMO as a thing I can go like do on the side every now and then, because the MMO is a long-term experience in game. That's what I'll say for that. Do you require assistance, adventurer? So this is the one who would challenge Titan. I've been expecting you, Elio. The ingredient you seek is the egg of a giant adamantinoise. The method of acquisition should be obvious. You steal it from the beast's nest, of course. Simple in theory, but difficult in execution. Most who try die in the attempt. Will I help you get it? Ha! You amuse me. I will not jeopardize my position by openly assisting you. From me, you will receive only information. What you do with it is your choice. Let me be clear, this business between you, me, and the captain must remain a secret. See, I don't regret my time spent with the company in the slightest, traveling the world, meeting interesting people, killing them. It was all a jolly good fun. Alas, Gridanians are, by and large, an unforgiving lot. Ditto here being a rare exception. I've had to go to great lengths to ensure that I am seen as a model citizen, with no taste for drinking, whoring, gambling, and all those other activities I so dearly miss. So understand that if you ruin my little charade by wagging your tongue, I'll fashion a noose with your entrails and hang you with it from the nearest heaven's pillar. Well, what are you waiting for? There's a perfectly good adamantoise egg in a nest to the east of here, just ripe for the taking. Not that I expect you to live long enough to claim it. The mother never strays far from the child, and you will surely be attacked the moment you lay your hands upon the egg. There will be other heroes, Elio. You do not need to challenge Titan. Abandon your quest, or your corpse will rot in this swamp. Pointless busy work is finished, he says. I've seen plenty of unconventional weapons as effective fighting implements. A blitzball shouldn't be too out there. Yeah, I think a blitz... Again, I've had this discussion with many people. I don't think a blitzball class is likely, but I think it's possible, especially if you think about the idea of how a blitzball could come from, like, the New World, from, like, the southern part of the New World or Manor City as a traditional game. It's like, I think there's a bunches of ways to rationalize that. Waka, why is your job grand? Give me Oren's outfit for Samurai Glim. I mean, to be fair, one of the samurai outfits is almost damn near straight up is the... Like, isn't obviously straight up, but is damn close. Is there a Red 13 minion? Because there should be. Maybe. I'm sure someone has probably answered by now, Des, but I'm not super into minions, so I'm not the best person to ask. What class is Waka? Would he count as a dancer? No, he's a blitzball. There aren't classes in 10, so there really isn't a good analogy. He's Waka class, but he's the blitzball class. What you could call him a baller, blitzer. If blitzball has a different name in universe, you could associate it with whatever its new name is. But yeah, the class could be blitzer. Do you think we'll go further in exploring the other shards in the future? Yes, no question, 100% we will. I don't think it'll be until probably 9.0. It could be 8.0, but probably 9.0. I think there's a non-zero chance that actually the major... I've posed this, but the one thing that I think that is a reoccurring theme throughout Final Fantasy XIV and after Endwalker, that is the thing that we will be contending with, is the legacy of Empire. You have to deal with the legacy of Allag. You have to deal with the legacy of Garlemald. You have to deal with, in some ways, the legacy of the Unsundered World. You have to deal with the fact that Corvos and its legacy is tied explicitly into the role quest, the main MSQ, all of that. The effects of Allag upon the world, both in, again, Corvos/Loka Semenos and in Mericidia. The legacy of Empire on the Void. It's like, that theme is going to repeatedly be an important part of a bunch of the different content that we have to deal with, and may even onto the New World. So in my mind, what would almost be a great idea in terms of a larger, like, secondary conflict, like in terms of like the Hydaelyn Zodiac arc being the first one, if there was one of the things in 6.x is the idea that we're going to be able to get cross reflection travel via the Void, because its ability to cross into each one. If we think about that as a primary means for plot, you could then imagine what happens when we engage with another reflection that maybe hasn't learned all the same lessons we have and is actually full Empire, and imagine what it, not literally, because what if Allag succeeded, but what if an Empire like Ronka or Allag succeeded, and then what happens when you connect them to all the other shards? Do they try to conquer everyone else? You know, something like that. You know, there's a bunch of different ways you could go with it. Oh, I didn't grab the egg. So I think there's no question that we go to the shards in the future. I don't think I think it could be 8.0 because of how Yoshi P likes to switch things up. I personally think it's less likely to be 8.0, and that's more likely to be a 9.0 thing. But so much is going to change literally between now and 7.0, let alone during 7.0, that like making an accurate prediction is basically impossible. With reflection traveling open up thanks to what's going on during 6.x, it could happen sooner. I mean, I don't think it'll be 7.0. I really strongly do not think 7.0 will be other reflections. It could, but I personally am of the mind that it makes far more sense based on stated things from the developers that it's going to be Mericidia or New World. In my opinion, probably Mericidia. And you can make Blitzball be more action-oriented rather than pseudo-turn-based RNG fiasco in event. Yep, that was my one issue with the whole ball throw pass mechanics was very obtuse, totally atelier. I didn't expect turtle eggs in real life to be that great. I'm fine with chicken or duck eggs. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Imagine if Final Fantasy XIV had a fast food franchise. I could imagine it in Garlemald. I mean, 15 had fast food and instant stuff. Yeah. What would it be? Yeah, and you're right, Garlemald would have been, or Allag maybe, would have been like the most likely place for it to pop up. I thought you might have had good sense to leave this place, but your continuing presence, I take it, you intend to preserve to the bitter end. An exceptionally large egg with a seemingly unbreakable shell. When it hatches, the baby adamantoise that emerges will likely be as large as a hound. Ha! Such bravery! Such recklessness! That will serve you well against Titan. Leave the egg with me. I'll see that it gets to the captain. You should make haste to the southern Bannerlin. In Forgotten Springs, you'll find a man named Uod Noon, he will be your next guide. Safe travels, Elio! And a couple episodes... Oh, did I not? A couple episodes, though, we were talking about the U-Tribe and Uod Noon. Also, no reasoning for the Saiyajins Arya. Oh, the Saiyajins. No, I know there is a reason. I'm totally forgetting what it is. It may just be... Is it... No, for the life of me, cannot recall what causes it. I know it's one of the warrior things. But no, Pedro, I don't remember what I recall exactly what the cause is. One is a combination of Archer Gambler. Archer give the rebuff and Gambler give the overdrive. Yeah, basically. And that's part of why I think another class we could see, and I've heard plenty of arguments against this that I agree with, so don't think that I'm arguing for it necessarily, but a Corsair class that is Saber and Gun, that's it's not luck-based mechanically, but imagine like a combination of Waka's like slot stuff, but with more control. So imagine like you have 3 bars of different energies that are getting filled at different rates. And so like you're balancing things. It's almost more free flowy like the Dancer. That could be a cool scouting job. But less like the Dancer. The problem with the Dancer is that you don't have enough control over your feathers, and so you can get just screwed with Dancer, like just straight up you can. So there would have to be more to make it more luck-based, but consistent enough that it's not feast or famine in terms of doing DPS. But yeah, Professor, that's a really good way of pitching an Archer Gambler. A bit spoilery, but what is the status of the Imperial Legions after Endwalker? So, second was the First Legion is technically basically obliterated, but somewhat existent. Second Legion was effectively completely destroyed during the final days. They dealt with a uprising in Corvos before the final days, and then when the final days hit, they got just destroyed. The remainders of the Third Legion, including their legati, were also dealt with during Endwalker and still exist. Some of them still exist, but they're basically destroyed. They've combined together. The 10th mainly still is around, and when the final days hit, was like, we don't care who is who, please work with us. We want to save the capital. So the 10th is still kind of around. We don't know much about their legatus. The 4th is Gabranth, which the 4th is effectively completely destroyed. The 5th, I don't think we know anything about. 6th was Van Hydra. The 6th is basically gone at this point. 7th was Nail and then Valen's. 7th is effectively dissolved. 8th, I don't think we know anything. Maybe we do know something about 8th. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. 9th, we don't know anything about. 10th, I explained. 11th, I don't think we know anything about. 12th was Xenos's, which just no longer exists. 13th, I feel like we definitely learned something, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, I wasn't super prepared for the question. And then 14th was what you deal with the Realm Reborn. It is Gaius's. And yeah, as long as we're not hitting hard spoilers, we're okay for talking about some stuff like that.
State your business, adventurer.
So this is the one Whiskat sends me. I haven't the foggiest what he sees in you, and until I do, you'll receive no aid from me.
Persistent bugger. Very well, let's have a look at you. You've seen your share of battles, there's no mistake in it, and you need manage to obtain the Adamantoise egg. However, that was not more than a display of brute force and blind courage. I know he's rolling his R's, I can't roll my R's easily. The Noon I once fought also believed in his strength would save him. He was wrong, and now I am Noon. Many years ago, I joined the company of heroes to hone my skills, instead of challenging my predecessor before I was ready. Instead of challenging my predecessor before I was ready. Even when I was young, I understood that victory goes to the patient, the cunning, and the pragmatic. That is why I claimed my position, and it is why I still hold it, and it is why I will not help an unproven whelp. The children of the sands do not offer aid to strangers. To do so is a sign of weakness. However, if you were recognized as a skill hunter, in your own right, it would be permissible to assist you. Across the desert to the east lies an Amalja encampment. There dwells a warrior, renowned both for his strength and his guile. To even face this Amalja battle, you must first find a way to lure him away from the encampment. This will be your test, to draw out and defeat the veteran. For this, I will offer you no advice, only this worn spear. Why, you ask? You'll have to solve that riddle for yourself. Now go slay this old warrior and bring me his necklace. Oh, Chris, thank you so much! Actually, seriously, thank you for that $5. I am going to put that towards dinner tonight, because I really actually wanted to go out to eat, but I did not have any money in the budget for it. So I appreciate it very, very, very much. What is your question, though? Pulling those legions off the top of your head was very impressive. Good. I'm only sad that I couldn't pull all of them out in detail. But
That is why part of why I'm doing the A Realm Reborn thing, and what I constantly am aiming to do is I want to be able to do that with obviously not everything in the game. You can't keep everything in your game in at all times, but to be able to do that at hand. The Ascians I noticed from observation don't seem to influence the history of other shards until they're readying them for rejoining. Is that right? That's what they did for the first. Well, to be fair, with the first, that was being tilted, especially... That was tilted over 100, well... Yes, kind of. Especially because, so, to your point, AC, they don't want to tilt it too fast, else the 13th happens. So, effectively, yes. There's some more complications to it than that, but yeah, effectively they wait till as long as possible until they've got the source ready, because if they tilt it too fast on the reflection, and it goes haywire and the source isn't ready, you get the 13th. Funny enough, Blitzball gear is actually decent as light combat armor. I know at the very least the Empire isn't getting a 15th Legion. Yep, that's definitely the case. Unless someone is trying to like embody like the reclamation of old Garlemald and the legacy of Empire as an idea, and they wanted to create a new Legion, the idea of a 15th Legion could be something that they could do. Gods, a Corsair would be awesome, so I can be a pirate without having to be a ninja. Yeah, and again, there are a lot of reasons that people have argued against it, and I don't disagree with them. But I will say that I think there's a possibility, especially with the idea of traveling to the New World or Limsa, or dealing with Limsa, because there's the Musketeer, and a lot of the Musketeer got cannibalized by, or not, is it Musketeer? What was it? But anyways, got cannibalized by machinists and other jobs. But at the same time, you could still see it happen. The Legions have a lot of inspiration based on the corresponding games. Yes, sometimes it's more tenuous, but like people have drawn connections between. Hey, good job to our FC. Y'all got us a company rank up. And also, if you want to join our FC, come join us on Crystal Curl, where you can join our FC and have a great old time, as well as get a bunch of benefits. On top of that, you can also if you aren't on Crystal Curl, you can also join our Crossworld Link Show, which you can get an invite from me, Ray, or Issa, if Issa is still around. But yeah, you've got like Vayne, Zaldor, and Xenos parallels. With 10, you have they come and help deal with Anima and are like associated with stuff like that. 3 with Vergilia, you have like some associations with Final Fantasy 3. With 4 with Gabranth, you've got some things with 4. I would have wished that he was 12 more than 4, but it works out. Yeah, just all sorts of stuff crossing over. 7th with Nail, you have Meteor. Final Fantasy 7, and also Valens. You have Valens with the weapons and Final Fantasy 7. Yeah, there's all sorts of connections. And 14, Gaius. Original villain 214. The U-Tribe is important as there is a quest to rally them to join your cause against Garleans. Yes. Greetings for Orlando, Florida. Hey, Catherine, how warm is it for you? It's currently 60 degrees. In the basement here. It's actually probably like 80 degrees outside, though. I've been through the desert on a chocobo with no name. Is it possible for my Makota character to be a distant cousin to the M-Tribe? I have an alt that has an M-Tribe name, but not directly related. Is it a viable in-game explanation? Yeah. So here's the problem. Typically, you have an M-Tribe. One, because of the like breeding practice of an M-Tribe, you would have to be a relative. You also would have to some amount be part of the tribe. So you distant cousin to the problem with being a distant cousin is that you either are a part of a tribe or you aren't. And when you say distant cousin to the M-Tribe, and we can talk about this more later, AC, maybe, because there's some stuff to delve in there, but there's a lot of context around what you mean specifically to make that work, but you can fudge it. Back, was on phone for a bit. Hey, welcome back, Power. Tell me, adventurer, is our old nemesis dead? A confusion of teeth, bones, and claws strung onto a piece of leather. Supposedly from the pattern in which items are ordered, other Amalja can glean the name and rank of the necklace wearer. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to write that down in my notes. MSQ lore replay notes. I didn't have that ready to go. Amalja. Sorry, I know it's not entertaining for me to type this in. Oh, there. Cool. Let's get back to you guys. "'Tis a fine necklace as befits a veteran of countless battles. It'll make an excellent trophy. The spear? It belonged to one of his brothers. I knew when he spied it from afar, he would be unable to resist venturing outside the encampment to see it for himself. Did you discern my intent? Or was it dumb luck, I wonder?" "Either way, you impress me, adventurer. I shall tell you an ingredient you seek." "A shame we did not meet when I was still with the company of heroes. You would have made a fine recruit. But no point dwelling on what cannot be. You have a Welwick worm to hunt. Sandworms slither brazenly across the desert dunes, but Welwick worms are far fewer in number. Rarity breeds demand, and so their meat is highly prized as a delicacy. The only way to catch your quarry is to entice it with something it cannot resist. Those worms prey on the smaller creatures of the Scully. A freshly slaughtered angler carcass would be my choice of bait. There is an area teeming with anglers to the east. I will mark it upon your map along with a location where Welwick worms are most frequently sighted. Be warned, the blood will drive the worm into a feeding frenzy. If your skills are lacking, it will devour you as well." Okay, guys, let's go kill Shai Halud. If you join the FC. Okay, thanks, Ray Ray. Yeah, I mentioned before we had a bit of a Corsair concept of Musketeer from 1.0 with Rosenthal. Yeah, you just literally even see the marker for it still up in Limsa. Maybe we'll go pull that up in a second. Oh, some machine quest, you see him wield an axe with pistol. Yeah, exactly, Atelier. You know what? Here. I've got that. No, I didn't attune just Forgotten Springs. Let's attune just Forgotten Springs real quick, and I want to go pull that up real quick because it's actually really cool. A class that is just gun would be cool, not machinist with the additional magic constructs or gunbreaker, but just a really good with a gun, like Gunslinger and D&D. Yeah, Des, I understand the desire. I think you have to make it, you have to add something else because there has to be an identity that's distinctly different than machinist. And I know that like dual pistols is different. And I know that like a rifle or like something is different, but because of all the skins and ways that they've done machinist, I don't think its identity is different enough. And especially because Final Fantasy likes to create archetypical examples. So in my mind, I think you have to add a little something extra, but I hear you. Heading off for today. Bedtime and you. Love the stream. See you next time. Sorry, Etho, if I missed you. Thanks so much for joining in. Always glad to have you. Class of dueling move. Yeah, Des. The problem. Yeah. Well, gunbreakers. The thing is, the gunbreakers though, you're firing a shot, and that shot. Oh no. I actually sold that to my friend. I had a gunbreakers blade. The thing is, you're not firing an you're firing an explosion that causes magic, and so like. Oh my god. Dude, this reminds me of this comment I had on this one video. This guy was just like commenting all sorts of stuff. And he got really pissy because he said something kind of mean. And I just was like, yo, this is like the Gunbreaker blade basically fires charges. Like, yes, they explode and cause magical effects. It's like, no, that's technically a dry fire. And I was just like, okay, whatever. But anyways, Gunbreaker is still different. Like a gunblade is different. But, you know, but you could also argue then is how different is a blade and gun than a gun blade. So. That's fair. You can type your notes into the link shell chat for someone to mark down for you, and I'm also sure there's something in Discord that could record the chat logs for the game. That's a good point, Professor. I think we'll probably try to do that going forward. That's a really, really good idea. Thanks for proffering that. Obviously not. I'm not used to having aid. Like I'm still getting used to Ray being a god's send for me, for making sure that stuff is taken care of in the back end, like making sure you guys get the. But see here, so like in the front of the Marauders Guild, they even have the Musketeer. They created this. But it never got implemented, but they decided to keep it around anyways because a lot of people in Limsa use guns anyways. So technically there is still a Musketeer. You could have duelists use dual pistols and have it be more of a running gun than a stand back and shoot. Again, hey Ramsiel, glad to have you. Glad you're here. I like the idea. Again, I think the problem is you just have to make sure that there's enough identity to it that distinguishes it. I think if you do that, you have to make sure that there's even machinist is not just a gun. You have your gun, but you also have your ethereal conductor plus the creating of things. And so there has to be an identity. And I don't know that just dual pistols in and of itself is enough. But if you guys have other pitches, I'm glad to hear and discuss it. You know, after doing so many Amalja tribal quests, I love the fact that splashing defeated Amalja is a sign. That is splashing defeated Amalja is a sign of shame. I would love shaming them all day if they're that averse to water. Yeah. Yeah, you see. New word, America was referred to as the New World, so cowboys. Well, I mean, here, let's pull it up. We've done this a couple times, but let's, I always have this footage on hand to explain it. I gotta pop open OBS real quick, and display capture. So, let's pop it up. So, the New World, for those of you who are not hyper familiar, is this continent here. This is the southern part, this is the northern part. If we go back a little, so this is obviously going eastward, but this is Eorzea here. So like there's this huge the New World is at this, the New World is the size of I think I have it. So there's the New World, there's Eorzea, and there's Ilsabard and Othard. So literally, the three great continents combined are the size of the New World. And then you have, this is Ilsabard right here. I think you can see Thavnair, like right here. So there's Othard, Ilsabard, Thavnair's right there. This is this is Mericidia down here. So yeah, so it's never one-to-one. Like, Mericidia is both Australia and somewhat Africa. Ilsabard is Eastern Europe somewhat, but with other things as well. You've got places like Balja, which are kind of like Turkey, and Dalmasca is kind of like the Middle East. Othard is like Asia, and Eorzea is kind of like Western Europe. These are broad generalizations. And there's just bits of Africa kind of everywhere, which is kind of sad that there's no like continent for it. But Mericidia, definitely parts of Northern Africa are associated with aspects of the Mericidian culture from what little we know. But let's turn the display back on. I should probably have just kept that on the side screen so you didn't have to see infinite. Yeah, New World is huge. Huge, 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 huge. It could be more like a ninja with firearms rather than a machinist. Yeah, the difficulty is that then you're encroaching on ninja, right? Like the problem is that it needs its own identity, completely separate from anything that prior existed. Because if it's more ninja than machinist, well, same problem. But Ramsey, yeah. I mean, there are multiple sword using classes, so I don't know why one can use it. Only one. No, it's not that, but it's so here's my point about looking at sword using classes. You have Dark Knight versus Paladin. The difference between a greatsword and a sword is extreme, even just in visual identity. Also, the Dark Knight is patterned off of not only an archetype that's prior existed, but also characters like Guts. It has a specific singular identity. Paladin is sword and shield. You then have Ninja, which is daggers. It's not swords, but like it's also double daggers, not dual swords. So like the thing, and then you have Red Mage, which is not, it's a rapier, which is a very specific kind of sword, and a catalyst, right? And so, yes, there's multiple swords, but those swords are all very distinct from each other. It's not just, oh, there's one sword class and then there's a dual sword class. And so because there's like, my point is that proffering the idea that there needs to be a distinction and an identity is not saying there can't be dual pistols. It's saying dual pistols alone is not enough and encroaches too much. If you can create a stronger sense of identity with other aspects added on, then you can get away with it. Utilizing a silencer or something. Imagine being able to gunslinger like revolver or ocelot, spinning your guns to a ridiculous extent. I love it. And also to everyone's point, yeah, cowboys in the New World. Like, I mean, that would be a great justification if they do stuff like that. I mean, the problem is that then you're gonna have to deal with potentially some things around the like ideas of westward expansion and colonialism, which I think actually is grounds for a lot of really interesting drama and narrative storytelling. If you want a gun focus class instead of gadgets, I can imagine the combat focusing on gun techniques, enhancing abilities, magic like curving shots. Ah, yeah, there we go. Gun spinning for barrels, etc. Yeah. As much as like there's already the barrel mechanics for charges for Gunbreaker, yeah, I think you can do it. Like I'm not against this idea. If I like something, and even if I don't like something, I want to make sure I look at all the ways in which it might not work, so that those can be addressed and theorized. Okay, well, this is how you would solve it, or here's how you can't solve it, or so it's not a poo-pooing by any means of the idea. We do need a job that can share gear with Ninja. Yeah, scouting job. Yep. Red Mage. I mean, yeah, but I explained why Red Mage isn't on the same. But between the Catalyst and the Rapier, like being very, very distinct. And like slashing versus stabbing, for instance, too. Job development must be quite a challenge for the devs, I think. Yeah, and it's only going to get harder the more that they add. Historically, ninjas did use firearms. Sure. I mean, like, historically, all sorts of... Like, historically, paladins could have used hammers. Like, you know, like... If you're talking about real-world history, sure, but we're talking about Final Fantasy. And, yeah. We could delve into X2 for additional identity for theoretical 2 gun classes. Yeah, absolutely, Professor. I think you could totally look at, like, Yuna's Gunner as an inspiration for, like, skills and stuff. I think the problem is I don't think that the Gunner's identity in X2 is strong enough to make it distinguished enough, personally. I would still think that you need to add an extra aspect to it, like a fundamental... Like, every job has a bar that has a fundamental, like, idea and association and identity behind it, be it in the way you're using darkness with Dark Knight, the way in which you're spending your oaths for Paladin stuff. Like, there are underlying mechanics, and that's just why I'm saying, like, there's got to be that for whatever the job is. You know, it isn't just the weapon, it isn't just the shooting, it isn't just the auto attack, it is the full breadth of what that job's identity is supposed to be.
You look well. Have you caught your quarry then? Your skills as a hunter rival those of our best. I applaud your success, Elio. The meat will need to be heavily smoked before I ship it to Westcat. Worry you not. You have my word that he will receive it in time for the banquet. You must be eager to obtain the third ingredient. I regret to say that I know not of its location. For the nonce, you should return to Costa del Sol and see Westcat's council. Ah, but hold a moment. Should you wish, since you will be meeting the captain again soon, there's something I would like you to deliver to him for me. The captain was always fond of his brand wine. I'd be grateful if you could deliver it on my behalf. I was reckless, angry youth when I first joined the company, and he would have been well within his rights to cast me out. Everything I have, I owe to his wisdom and generosity. Aye, Westcat was a firm yet fair teacher, an expert molder of men, and I suspect that that is still the case now. Please, give him my regards, Elliot.
In regards to local locations inspired by real places, can we assume that there's a Mexico? Yes. There's definitely going to be a Mexico, or at least broadly a Central America, and analog, which was a real Aztec sword. Yeah. I used to know how to pronounce this, but yes, I know the sword you are talking about. Yeah, and the Excel have Aztec inspiration also means tacos. Yes, it does mean tacos. But yeah, some of the Ixali stuff is already inspired by that. Like, that's the thing, is none of it's a one-to-one. It's not Europe, Eorzean is Western Europe. It's not that. But broadly, there are generalities you can associate with a lot of cultural inspirations and their geographic placement. Try to get on there. I think the only problem with the idea is it sounds too cool. I can only imagine what would happen to poor machinists if another cool gun job was created. Yeah, but like that always happens. Like there's always a period of time where some jobs could pick up, but a lot of people stick with their old job that they like, or people like to play it even if they don't the visual identity of another one they like more. Or, you know, there's always people. It's always going to fracture more and more and more because there's always going to be splits. So like a bunch of people picked up Reaper and Sage, but that started to even out, and now they're a lot more. It's still not nearly as huge as it was at launch. So I think Brooke, I think there's a good chance that it would be okay. But yeah, I totally hear you. A flail would be sick. I like the job that uses big hammers. I want Neo Hammer or a flail. Yeah, I think we definitely get a whip. I think a flail could work. I don't know what the identity for it around that is, but I think a flail could definitely work. Then break free for gunslinger class, high noon. He who aims with their eyes has forgotten the face of their foes. The thing about a flail is that there's also a good chance that if any job gets a whip, that flail is just one of the aesthetic types that job can use.
Well met, Elio. Landel and Uod Noon both spoke highly of you. What brings you here? A deep caramel-colored spirit made from twice distilling fine red wine and then aging it in rosewood barrels for at least 30 summers. Ah, my favorite. I shall have to thank the Noon personally. Now, you have but one ingredient left. Fortunately, you will not have to travel to Aldenar this time to obtain it.
We're going to Brayflocks, if I remember rightly. It's been so long. Yeah, we're going to Brayflocks.
Truth be told, I have never intended for you to collect this last ingredient. Brayflocks, my old quartermaster, wished to bring it to Costa del Sol herself. However, not long ago, she sent word that there had been some trouble at the long stop, and that the delivery would be delayed indefinitely. She told me nothing of the incident itself, but I fear the situation may be dire. Though I would like nothing more than to aid her myself, I have no choice but to turn to you and your allies. Make haste to the Hidden Falls docks, and speak with Ozun Nazun. He will direct you to the Raincatcher Gully, where Brayflox and her people have made their home. Do you suspect any colonies from the old world and the new world? From the old world in the new world of the game, in the moment of the game. I guess the new world is already known to the most Blue Mage gear stuff, but our stats actively investing in it. So states aren't. Some individuals are. So the new world wasn't even really known about in Eorzea until 80 years ago when Kenton Ram the Blue just rediscovered it. And then about 20-ish years ago, Merlwyb was the first person to create a safe, consistent crossing path between the new world and Eorzea. So travel between there is not like common, but it happens. And so there are individuals, for instance, you play the Blue Mage quest, who are trying to take advantage of that. Are there any outposts? There might be a couple. We don't really know of any, but we know that people like Lorenz and the Blue Mage characters and stuff are actively travel there on the reg, which means that while there may not be active outposts, we know they're actively engaging with the local people. We definitely know that with the Wallachui and stuff.
What? The hurry event? What's the hurry adventure? Eh? Something happening over the Gabi settlement? I don't know why you're so eager to help a bunch of beastmen, but go and talk to the... Racism. But go and talk to the skip over yonder. She'll ferry you to Raincatcher Gully. So important. There's so many touches of, like, trying to... Like, they set that up so early on, even in ARR. Like, understanding that... Like, the whole idea of beastmen is bullshit, and also... not only is it bullshit, but the... It's bullshit and it's omnipresent. And yes, I failed to go to bed. Yeah, Etho. Well, I'm glad you stayed up and are hanging out with us. Always glad to have you. I hope my points answered your question. There's not a lot that's entrenched that we know of. Now, that doesn't mean that they couldn't, when we get there, it turns out like, oh, actually, there are a bunch of places. We just never heard about them. Because stuff like that can totally be, it's not retcon, but it's just like, we aren't aware of it. But as far as we know. Give the gunslinger some explosives, maybe. There you go. AoE stuff, perhaps. Have them to be more militaristic so they can give buff to allies for damage. A stack mechanic that is tactical positioning. Yeah, Des, that's a great idea. Yeah, there's a great... Huachupotl. Huachupotl? Got it? Did I get it? Like Axolot? If any colonies from Eorzean in the New World, probably from Limsa. Surprisingly not necessarily, because as much as people set out from there, that isn't the only exclusive place that, like, engages with it. Because it's important, like, Limsa's the port of call, but it isn't necessarily the only peoples engaging with it that we know of. In fact, most people we know to engage with it explicitly are hanging out more from Thanolin. Tongue flaps of rust scabby reaching ears of violet butterflies. Uplanders come for tasty fresh in the scabby treats, yes? Press prize of Uplanders deep in Longstop. Let the beast chase Gabby Flock from homes. Gabby Flock needs goodly Uplander. Give safety to Longstaff with much hand landing.
God, that's fun to do. I can't wait till we get to Idleshire.
Brayflox cannot give what Brayflox does not have. Uplander and Gabby Flock must first backtake Longstop.
Brayflock Stitch talks. Cheese time. I know I'm super late to that Dragon Star, but yeah. One of my favorite instances. I will say, this was actually one of the only ones that I accidentally got spoiled on in terms of changes. And I will say some of the refinements that they added are super subtle, but if you're someone who's had done Brayflox a bunch, it just brings it in line with all the other, like, sort of changes and, like, refinements that they've added.
Illuminati cheese!
Also, rip class. Okay, maybe you should set a goal. For instance, like if I raise like a certain amount of money for a day for a stream or something, I'll do Gabi voice for like the whole stream or something. I should get honestly. Man, I wish YouTube allowed me to do more things like Twitch in terms of like setting up like subathons or allowing you guys to like earn points towards spending me do weird things. Like, oh, okay, people earn like 10,000 points and they can have me do a line in a certain accent or something. Like, that'd be really fun. I should have turned on tank stance. I was not paying attention. I've only done it on these streams. It's the only time I've ever forgotten tank stance in like 3 years.
Could combine whip and gun for cowboy Indiana Jones thing. Yeah, hey, there's a good thought, Des. Yeah. I can see whip class B for Beastmaster. Atelier, that's been my thought too, honestly. I've been thinking that that's where it would go. Flail and small hammers would be for green mage since they're those for Final Fantasy tactics advanced too. There you go. Yeah, and I definitely think green mage could happen. I don't think it'll be a time mage. Definitely not a time mage. But I definitely think you could have like a saboteur synergist style green mage. I also think that a Geomancer could potentially fill some of that slot as well. Cheese and wine pair well together. It's true. The Maelstrom are most likely to have a presence in the New World. Also, I mean, not necessarily though. Like they're the most likely to some of them to travel them, but not necessarily. Are they most likely to create a base of operations there? They might have a port of call, but that there's also a good chance that any port of call there is also cross-led between multiple nation states.
Double flock in danger! Uplander to Dolce! Open hunter!
She's not the smartest copy. Look at all that lush green stuffs. Yeah. Look at all those chickens. Most of the New World. Also, any Garleans would have been posted there. Well, we don't know for sure the Garleans actively went to the New World. We can speak to the fact that there's some argument that the Alligans might have, and it's possible that the Garleans and others might have, but we don't really know that. There could be a three-way conflict between the natives, pirates, and Imperials. Well, I mean, the thing is, if that's the case, it would have to be one of the legions unaccounted for, and also, like, they would have had to have gone rogue, and we haven't heard of that happening. Which, again, doesn't mean it couldn't have. But we have, like, because they would have had to have pulled a Gabranth or a Valens. I mean, even Valens isn't really quite that. I mean, Valens was about to fully rebel, but I never really got the full chance. Have you thought of switching to Twitch? I don't like Twitch. I don't like Twitch for a couple reasons. One of which is, well, okay, I don't dislike Twitch in and of itself. So there's a problem. One of which is that if you move your audience, they do not follow, unless you are of a certain size, and they still don't follow that. So going over the Twitch would not work really well for this channel. It also means that I don't have a lot of control. It also means if I want to upload clips or anything, I want to use the videos that I have, I'd much rather be able to show them off here for the channel. So have I thought about it? I've been thinking about it since day one. But like also discoverability on Twitch is way worse than YouTube. It's horrible. The discoverability on Twitch is just awful. And also Twitch is constantly making choices lately that are making me want to join it less, and YouTube is making more active efforts to try and improve the system. But yeah, Chris, I've thought about it. I say all this, I'm still not even necessarily a complete against it, but also when I made a poll, most people said please stay on YouTube too. So like, there's a good chance that people wouldn't transfer over. Those people that would, the majority of which would prefer it on this platform. So it's those complications that you have to choose. And so like the opportunity cost is the issue. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start doing low-key streams on Twitch and see how that goes. And like if I just want to like level or just play on my main or something, and if people want to watch that or something and hang out, maybe I'll do that as a way of testing the waters. But yeah. You know you can weaponize a smelly cheese as the form of chemical warfare, but that's cruel and unusual. Yeah, we see that happen in the role quest. Yeah, the final boss is different with its mechanics. Yep. Oh my god, the final boss is now way better. Again, at teaching and just like, it's a better design. It's a way better design. I mean, there are still technically large poison pools. They're just AoEs that pop up for a second, rather than that you are supposed to predict and understand. I want to throw bombs like Nashu. Yeah, there you go. I always save the optional Gabi right before the second boss when I tank. I feel too bad leaving it to die. Out of all the Grand Companies, the Twin Adder is least likely to have a presence in the New World. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's a fair hypothesis. I just like, we should be careful about any kind of declarative anything, because we shouldn't say anyone is, because we don't know. Like, yes, they're the least likely because they're landlocked, but at the same time, you know, like saying anyone is the most, kind of like, for instance, you can make an active argument Thanalin's the most because of all the blue mages hanging out there and the people, and literally all of the monetarists and their likelihood to go exploit and explore new resources and new lands for financial gain. So like saying any one is the most, I think is, you can postulate, but you can't really be any kind of certain. I'm having craving cheese food. What are some of your guys' favorite cheese dishes? Mac and cheese, grilled cheese, cheesecake, piece with cheese and crust. All of those I love AC. I grew up in the Midwest, so I love cheese curds. We have fucking phenomenal cheese curds. Not like just raw cheese, but like breaded cheese that's like melted and fried. I also really love, I forget its specific name, but it's a cheese you can find in Wisconsin and sometimes elsewhere. That's like it's called brick cheese or something. It's not actually called brick cheese, but it's this amazing cheese that you can cut up into chunks, and then if you like throw it on a pan and fry it a little bit, it's just amazing. It's phenomenal. Cheesecake for me. I love cheesecake. I didn't think I liked cheesecake, and then I went to Japan and I had cheesecake in I was in Nikko in Honshu, I think. Right over by Tokugawa Ieyasu's grave. And there was this lovely couple that they were just on this, their building was just on this hill, kind of, I mean, not in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the middle of town. And they just sold nothing but cheesecake. And I had that there, and then I became a huge fan of cheesecake from then on. Dude, I love craft singles. I know that doesn't count as cheese, but I love craft singles so much, and they're so useful. But I will say, I'm definitely, whatever I'm getting, I might be going to Culver's and getting, now I'm going to probably get something cheese thing. Thank you to Chris for giving a super chat for allowing me to pay for it. Maybe if, forgive me, I must say this for the sake of self-promotion, but if I get one more $5 super chat, I probably can afford a full meal. Anyways, moving on. Want to go to the New World, leave from Limsa with the money put up by Lola Rito, who would see it as an investment opportunity. Yeah, power. Yeah, totally. Do we think Lola Rito will have a Jane Doe and Mericidia? Jane Doe? Like a random person, like a contact in there? Almost certainly not. The only people that we have any inclination have any meaningful contact with Mericidia are Thavnair, and even they don't really. It's, again, possible. It's totally possible, but everything we know from the lore is that pretty much Mericidia still to this day is like, to anyone who tries to come near, get the fuck out and like attacks them, for the most part. So their contacts and interconnections with them is pretty limited. However, if anyone could, Lola Rito would be unsurprising to be the person. Twitch versus YouTube is always a tough decision. I prefer Twitch UI, but ethically YouTube is better for everyone. Yeah, Brooke, that's the thing. Is a lot of the tools Twitch have, I do prefer. No question. I want them on YouTube, and my hope is that they will definitely be proffered sooner rather than later. YouTube has been trying to add a lot of things lately to like be competitive. But yeah, I do think you're right. As for streaming, Twitch has the way better UI, no question. Cheese curds are the best. Yeah, cheese curds are awesome. I don't say that because they are landlocked, because of their attitude towards outsiders, and couldn't see them lasting outside their forests with those opinions. Yeah, Professor, that's great justification. Totally agree. Yeah, that's doubly a point. Good point. The Japanese have excellent souffle cheesecake, aka the jiggly cheesecake. I'm not surprised. We have to feed and water our streamer, guys. Chris, thanks. Again, I feel very bad for asking for these resources, but I promise all of them do go. I mean, like, honestly, tonight going out to like get fast food to me is splurging. All the money that I get goes towards either stuff for the community or stuff for the channel, and it's my only desire to push towards getting more resources and more money comes specifically towards wanting to grow the channel, wanting to make it more viable, wanting to be able to do things full time and make more content. So that's really where it comes from. So forgive me for being overly self-promoting on that front, because sadly it is the best way to have that. Oh my god, thank you, Nick. Thank you for the €5. Pounds, right? Eat broski. Can't make more content if you hungry. Thank you, Brooke. I really seriously appreciate it, guys. Now with $15, that means I can get that means I could maybe even get, well, I could get an ice cream, but I should probably save that for the channel. And oh, hey D, here you go. Now you can buy more. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Seriously, and again, sorry to be overly self-promoting. That said, don't forget, next week during community live stream on Saturday, we're doing the raffle for the tea emotes. We raised $80 for those, thanks to all of you guys, so can't thank you enough. If you want to get the tea emote, don't forget to go into our announcements page. You also have to join the Discord, and also if you're joining the Discord, don't say anything and sign up for the thing. I will know. Don't do that, please. So please, if you'd like to, join the Discord, our Discord, which I'm sure Ray can give a link to, and go onto our announcements. There will be a post that has an emote with a T symbol under it. All you have to do is click on the T emote, and that will sign you up. There are 10 emotes being raffled off this coming Saturday. If you aren't able to make it, don't worry. You'll still be part of the raffle, and we'll get it to you afterwards. There are also, I think, about 3 more T-emotes that we were able to raise the money for that we will be doing a quiz show sort of stream for. I haven't figured that out yet perfectly, but it will be sooner rather than later, definitely within the next week or 2. Honestly, I figured Lolorito probably has a person in every place he can think of. Yeah, no, that's definitely fair power. That's not a fair assumption. Thank you, D. Thank you so much. Again, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it all. And make sure if you do, offer a couple bucks or whatever, if there's anything I can do to try and pay you back, be it doing a voice, doing something humorous, whatever, just feel free to put that in the chat as well. Woo, woo, woo! Lo, it's good. Take care of yourself. You're on the grind, bro. Love the support. Seriously, thank you. It's still surreal. It's still surreal getting that kind of support from other people, and I really, really appreciate it. And I know I just keep saying that, but I don't know how to emphasize it other than repetition at this point. So, thank you. Hey, Atelier, asking you shall receive. See, that's the problem, though, is that I can't take that to heart because then I'm just gonna ask for money, and that's not good. That's not asking for people's money, especially But just know that anything you do, Patreon, these super chats, they do go towards the channel and they do get put towards good use, and they are not being, they're not for vanity, I promise. Isa, nom 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 nom. Thanks again, guys. Super appreciated. And thank you, Ray, for putting all the links in the chat and also being here literally for all the streams and moderating the Discord. It is of extreme value. Book 6 of 9 complete. 69. Nice. But yeah, nice, Professor. I'm glad that you're getting through those. The books are the worst, man. You need to apologize. You're creating great content. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I Midwestern disposition of yes. People are giving me resources, and I do not know how to accept all of this kindness. But luckily, I'm getting better at it. There was definitely a time where the idea of asking for anything was a veritable impossibility. So luckily, having the channel has made it easier to also discern the difference between when you being overly greedy or overly asking of things versus trying to be a self... oh, God, what's the term? Self-promoter? No. Self-advocating. That's what it is. Ray is awesome sauce. It's true. Ray is awesome sauce. I'm gonna have to break the bubble. Awesome Hardred? Oh, talking Professor. I'm so used to looking at the first part of Professor's name. Ray making sure everything runs smoothly. It's true. Real true. Luckily, I have no problem asking for money. The benefit, one, I'm sure this is not just because you're not, one, the benefit of not being the front-facing person, but also, Ray just ain't got no quibbles. Ray here to do what Ray does. Only in Eorzean are amphibians bigger than dinosaurs. It's true. Aether will do that to you. Oh, and speaking of, I'm not sure that they actually are in stream, but we had a recent Patreon join us on the Avatar of Thaliak level, and I don't know if they wanted me to use their Discord name or their Patreon name, but since sometimes Patreon names can be people's actual names, I would prefer to do their their Discord name, which I know they just changed. So let me make sure. Paw Revere. I think Paw Revere. I think that's how they're supposed to read it. But thank you so much for your joining at the Avatar of Thaliak level. It's super goes a long way on Patreon. We're almost about to hit $100 on Patreon. And also I will be retooling the Patreon sometime within the next month, I believe, to make the rewards more meaningful. And I'm going to try to talk to those people who are patrons already and those people with you in chat and what kind of rewards would be more rewarding, for lack of a better way of putting it, because when we originally made them, it was kind of just a shot in the dark, and I'd like to make them very appropriate to the sort of things people would enjoy. Be that, I don't know, I literally have no idea what sort of things people are looking for. So currently the main thing that I know a lot of people like are having the Discord title But I'd like to also go ahead and make sure that that's more than just that, especially with the amount of support you guys proffer. Ray makes everything work all the time. Ray is amazing. It's true. It's true. Can't argue. Honestly, now I'm starting to wonder. I mean, with the amount of growth we've had, especially thanks to that video, the every job symbol video, you got to start to wonder at some point when we might need a second lab. Luckily, Ray's so on top of it. We don't need one. That said, for any of you who watched the flow video, the lyrical lore flow video recently, I'd love to know if you enjoyed it or not. Not you don't have to tell me, oh, I enjoyed it, I like it because you made it. Blah, blah. But I'm just curious, like, did it emotionally resonate with you? Because what I was aiming to get out of that mainly was to hit home with the emotions of it. And I hope that the additions I add, not only in the explanation of the lyrics, but like with the finale stuff, did so. Everybody loves lore. It's true. It's true. Actually, the funny thing, I guess, is that, it isn't true. But I think with 14, disproportionately compared to other games, it is true that a lot of people love lore. And not only that, but not only do a lot of people love lore more so in 14, but I think a lot of more people come to love lore in 14 because the story in the game drives people towards it and interconnecting you with it and caring about the context. I mean, think Chris from Work to Game, right? Like, phenomenal dude, by the way. Go check out his content. He originally he was more of a skipper, and now is getting deep into the lore. And so, like, I think the game earns you doing that and draws people who would otherwise maybe not necessarily be the most immediately or for whatever reason bounced off at first to eventually engage with it. There was a lot of dust in the air during that video. Yeah, dude, I was editing the video. I must have heard that song 100, if not more times, not hyperbolically, like actually 100 or more times, and multiple parts of it like on repeat while like editing the like dialogue bits. And yet I was still like weepy half the time I was editing that thing. Haven't watched it, make sure to do so after the stream. Awesome, Professor, hope you enjoy it. Flow makes me cry every time, always. Yep, Chris, I totally feel you. We are lore horse. Okay, someone write that down. We should make a mental note of some of the quotes that come up during streams, so that when we make merch, which hopefully we'll be doing soon, we do that. Also, maybe that would be another good thing for the Patreon. Get merch stuff set up at the same time, so that way we could send out stickers or something. Probably have to get art done, because while I could do just screenshot stuff, and while that would look pretty good, I think like maybe getting official art for Eorzean Archives might be better to do, but that, expensive and need to make sure funds go towards the right thing. That said, I do really want a mouse pad with Naniri's face on it. That's all I can say, for sure. Okay, it's hidden right now, so you guys can't see it, but Nick has... I'm sure Ray might unhide it. We'll see. But, yeah, okay. Nick. Hashtag lore whores. Flow video made me cry. It was so good. Okay, good, Eglinton. I'm glad. The flow video made me cry. Okay, good. I'm glad that it had the intended effect. Good. I mean, for lore, Ethis did a lot. Yeah. Hey, Ordoric. Yeah, the thing is, Ethis is interesting too, though, because like Ethis hasn't been around as much. And also the thing I'll say about Ethis is that while Ethis definitely promoted it and was a resource for a lot of people, I don't mean so much in whether or not the game provides the information. I meant more specifically in the way in which people are inspired by it. And the thing is that while, don't get me wrong, I love Ethis. Ethis is lore daddy. That promotion of content hasn't been around for a while. And so even in the absence of Ethis, even without people like me, even without people like Scribe, even without people like, all sorts of people, the game itself promoted it, drove that desire, and just drove the desire for now this second generation of lore Final Fantasy 14 YouTubers. But yeah, also hi, Orojic, glad to have you. At least most of the lore in Final Fantasy 14 is found in game quite easily. Yes, pretty much everything that isn't, there is no MSQ vital thing that is not found in game. There are contextualizations, there's little bits of lore, but there is nothing is found in, nothing of import is not in the game. I'll be honest, you got me back into the game after over a year of not playing. The flow video hit me in the heart. Oh, Aaron! Also, welcome. Glad to have you, and I'm glad. I'm glad that it could have a positive impact. Set me aside. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you continue to enjoy our other content, and any of it drives you also to play more. The part about lore in Final Fantasy 14 is that it doesn't make it go looking for it. The lore is available in the story, whereas the WoW or Destiny, you have to go outside sources to understand it. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, there is lore to go looking for in 14, but it accentuates rather than is fundamentally required to understand and contextualize. Like, everything you need to understand what's going on is in A Realm Reborn and in the expansions. Ooh, can I talk to you guys?
Bravelox has come to give good Uplanders Gabby hand landing.
Oh, that's it? Okay, well. Okay.
Oh, yes. Goodly Uplander has thanks of Gabby flock. Lady Beast was tricksy foe, but Uplander outwitted with plan smacking. Uplander has goodly heart for fighty think. Brayflax happy gives tasty fresh Gabby treats to clever Uplander. Cheese is stinky sweet. Gabby treats special made with secret Gabby hearts. No party complete without Gabby Gouda, Brayflax ever say.
I knew if I said Lord Daddy, Issa would scream about cigarettes. Which, devoid of context, I'm sure makes no goddamn sense. But, don't worry about it. I've yet to watch it, but I will after this. Awesome. Okay, thanks, Atelier. Lore Horse. Everyone's... Lore Lorito. Lore Lorito. Tramp stance on your J. Cough one day. Yeah, he's been out with PC and monetization, so that's why he's lacked Moosey's channel. Yeah. There's been very good reasons why SS has not been around. And this is vital and is so much part of the foundation of a lot of the like lore YouTube. There's no question. But hopefully one day he'll either come back, but regardless, I wish him well and I hope that he continues to be doing whatever's right for him at the time. And yeah, I love Moose. I wasn't talking to Moose, but I was in the conversation with Moose a couple weeks back. Got lore. I put a shirt idea in the Discord. Awesome, Chris. Please do. I gather you solved Brayfox's little problem. With the pungent odor, this hard yellow cheese veined with blue-green mold is most comparable to the warm, damp boot of a zombie after stepping in ripe chocobo dung. Goblins claim it is a delicacy, but then again, they have their masks to filter out the aroma.
By the gods, that unholy stench. This is... definitely gobbly cheese. Judging from the smell, this should be quite flavorful. How is it made? It's best you remain ignorant of such things. I still remember when I learned what kind of milk they used.
Okay. We're actually running up on time here, so I'm going to talk in chat for a little bit, and then I think we're going to be wrapping up for the day. Yeah, please put any shirt or merch ideas in the Discord. It's super helpful because we've been wanting to do that for a while, but it never felt right time. But with the streams going on and with the channel growing, I think it's starting to get to the right time. Moose has a Twitch. Oh, I did not know that. Issa, thank you for promoting that. Make sure to let people know. Brooke, one day we will have a merch consisting of temporary tattoos that say lore whore. Place the tattoos wherever you please. I'm going to make that happen. We're going to make this happen. After stream, I'm gonna go figure out what it takes to get mass orders of temporary tattoos. I'm gonna make this happen. I promise you. It may not happen right away, but this is happening. The Gobby voice.
Yes, I love doing the Gabby voice. I'm very excited for when we get to Idleshire, and or some other excuse to use it quite frequently, because it's very fun to do. Also, if you like the Gabby voice, don't forget to go check out our video on the Goblin. And if Rayway could go put in chat the video with our Goblin, I think that the greatest of all fears, or whatever, the true face of fear, whatever it is, if you could do that, it'd be a great example of a fourth archon in our group that we don't talk about a lot, Tome Fix Checkerbooks, who you may or may not have heard of. And occasionally he steals Elio's lesson plans and does them himself. He'll probably be packing up, showing up sometime in the future as well. But there's a thought.
Teacup on on the top of a book with your name on it. That would be cool. Cool. Yeah, D. Yeah, seriously. For if you put it here, if you could put it in the Discord so I can group them together and toss it on a doc, that'd be super helpful. Honorary Archon. Soon. Now time to make art for my idea. Yeah, definitely do. Please do. And we could even try to get something set up if it works out that way. Thank you, Ray. Okay, cool. So with wrapping up things here, let's talk about all the fun jazz. So don't forget that we have streams every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Wednesday is when new videos come out. Friday is Lore Book Club, which we have on the channel. If you'd like to sign up for that, you just go onto the Discord and go click on the event section. Saturday is our community streams. Speaking of the Discord, if you'd like to join our Discord, I'm sure Ray will link it in the chat. And it's where a lot of us do Looking for Group, talk about lore, talk about Final Fantasy XIV. It's an all-around good time, and it's a really good way if you want to know, oh, we're putting out a video, or we're putting out a stream, or any sort of news and stuff. Additionally, if you want to join in on our Discord so that you can be part of the tea emote raffle that we're doing, make sure to go to the announcements and click on the tea emote. Also, make sure that if you are doing that, you don't just join in and say nothing and not introduce yourself and just click on it. It is clear when you do that. Please at least talk a little bit, or just introduce yourself. It's just a little something. With all of that said, there's also the Patreon. If you'd like to support us and make this whole thing a lot more consistent and profitable, not necessarily profitable, but sustainable, you can definitely come join our Patreon, where we'll be trying to add more meaningful rewards to in the near future, or retooling a little bit. But in the meantime, there's lots of little goodies that you can get from that. In addition, if you like reading written lore, you can go check out our website, the Eorzeanarchives.com, where Niniri writes written articles about the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. I know there's something I'm forgetting. Yeah. With that said, I'd like to specifically, and I don't do this enough, but thank all of our patrons, and I really appreciate it. We're almost to $100 now, and the overwhelming support from you guys has been, and the fact that you guys show up to stream. Just the fact that you guys show up to stream. Fuck money for a second. When you guys show up to stream and engage, and even for those of you who just kind of want to hang around but don't want to talk, I really appreciate it, and I cannot thank you enough. It makes this whole thing a lot more fun, and there's the perpetual fear, of not having people to engage with, and so having you guys is a wonderful time. Let's catch up on chat real quick before heading out. Ray being awesome. Chris, thank you for the stream. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to all of you who proffered money that I am going to use for dinner. I will not use all of it for dinner because I think that was like at least $30 or so. But thanks for streaming. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day, Atelier. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Brooke, I'm sure there's a few artists in the Discord. There definitely are, I know for sure. We'll all have a chat. Ooh! Maybe make an art channel for us to talk about it all. That's a great idea, Brooke. Let's get that going. Also, it'd be cool to have a fan art area in the general, huh? Okay, I'm not gonna... I've always wanted fan art. I've always wanted to be part of something that I was making where someone would draw fan art of me and or the people in our group. I'm not gonna lie, I've always wanted that. If people do that, you will make me very, very happy. And there's a good chance I will print it out and I will put it on the wall behind this camera. That said, don't feel that I am asking you that you must do it or should or have to do it, but just know that... But yeah, Brooke, that's a great idea. We should figure out art channel. We have the screenshot in art channel, but we'll figure something out to make it so that there's definitely a place for y'all. Thanks so much, Brooke. Hey, D, I will definitely enjoy my foods. Again, thank you so much. The streamer urged to have fan art. I feel it. It's true. It's true. I can't draw, but I can do a really good stick figure. No worries, Chris. No worries at all. So, we're going to be heading out here in a second. Thank you all so much, and I will see you tomorrow, where we will continue our journey into ARR. And also, one last thing I'll say is that I maybe not, once we finish 2.0, I'm going to probably do some side quests. Not maybe job side quests, we're going to figure it out from there. But one, I want to slow down the pace a little bit to give time for 6.2 and 6.3 and stuff to come out so that we can do as much of the squadrons, or what is it, duty support system as possible while we're doing this stream. And on top of that, I think there's so much lore in the side quests and so much to talk about that there's no way that omitting them is to our detriment. So we're definitely going to do that. And oh yes, don't forget, 6.15 drops tomorrow. And if you want to be able to do if you want to do double of your Archosodra quest, don't forget to, right as 6.15 launches, to pick up the Archosodra quest before reset happens. And then when you do that, if you finish them, then you'll be able to do them again during that day. So that's always worth remembering. don't forget to do Crafters and Gatherers. Super excited to see you on the other side. See y'all tomorrow. Cheers. Where's the off button?